So if we will call our own the worst of the worst and laugh about it and keep being that guy and make excuses about it, why wouldn't we give them a pass? Why wouldn't we react crazy when they say it, right? That's just my perspective. Who's next?
No, to be honest with you, like I think it's kind of fair to make the assumption that Keegan doesn't understand the word. Everything he said is indicated he's got a really good understanding.
No, I agree.
In a different context.
But Anthony, I don't think he understands how we use it. The black folks that do use it as a so-called term of endearment, I think he understands the concept. I think he understands the concept. But when he's using it, trust me, it's not. He's not coming from term of endearment.
I'm not.
That's my.
Sis, let me ask you a question.
He said he doesn't use the word.
Why do we, as Black Americans, have to adjust? We do. What we say, what we sing, how we dance, how we congregate, anything about us, because other people don't understand it. Why do we always have to?
I don't think we do. Wait, hold on. Wait.
Because we whoop and holler about respect. We cry and whine about people not respecting us. But when we don't respect ourselves, now we holler. Now we crying and wondering, asking questions, or why other cultures don't respect us.
But if you as a black person can't tell
They don't respect me. They don't like my skin color.
Hold on, one mic.
Can I give him a cue, please?
Ready, I hear you. Listen. Hold on, one mic. Who's that speaking? I see Renee and E off mic, but we can only hear one person. Let Renee land, and then E. Wait, no. I think Randy wanted to go.
And then I want to get in now.
Okay, hold on. I gotta keep a cue, y'all. Okay, I'm coming off years of smoking herbs.
This group needs to stay going. This conversation needs to stay going, guys, for all day if we couldn't. This is really good. This is informational.
One mic. Wait, hold on, Renee, hold on. One mic on the call. I didn't hear what she said.
No, I was gonna say I gotta go. I gotta get some housework in today. So, I didn't know if you wanted to take it from here. I could stay for a few more minutes, but I gotta go.
No, I completely understand.
You can
The room is packed up. Don't take it down.
No, I am working in the background as well. I will keep the room going as long as I can. But
Yeah,
so I understand you have to go. But I know some people wanted to speak, so I'm going to give everybody a chance who wanted to speak before we shut it down. Unless some of our old school players, I don't know, Anthony wants to help run the room. I
was just going to answer the lady because I heard that question like 3 times. Why this and why that?
I didn't even finish my question, so I ask that you don't answer it until I finish it, please.
Oh yeah, Renee. Okay, wait. Hold on. Let's regroup. Pause. Hold on, because I want to give everybody a chance to speak. Renee was speaking, and then I think Reddy wanted to go, and then E. So that's where we'll go. We'll go Renee, Reddy, and then E.
And then Brittany.
Yes, thank
and then Brittany,
I'm gonna just say my last piece because I gotta go back to work. But Eve, baby, I heard your question. You basically said, why do we have to adjust to people's liking and stuff like that? It's not about adjusting. It's the reason why is because when you don't respect yourself and you use words to present yourself in that way, please do not think in life people will respect you. Do not think that other cultures will have this sort of oh well, you know what? Let me just not say it because no, if you think you a nigga, that's exactly how other cultures are going to
Okay. Eve, did you want to again? Go ahead, baby.
Can I, and I'm sorry.
No, wait. I'm sorry, we had a cue.
Okay.
Sorry, babes. It was ready and then eat.
No, you're fine.
And then ready. Ready if you're there.
Go ahead, Eve. I'm in the middle of something right now. Y'all go ahead and do it.
Okay, thank you. Oh, she left. Boo. Okay.
That's a queen right there that left.
So, I'll say this. One, I'm from St. Louis, right? I've been to New York, I've been in Atlanta, I've been in a lot of different places where cultures mix. I've never, ever been in a space where we allow anybody outside of ourselves to use the N-word. Not Asians, not Arabians, not none of them. And we have within St. Louis, we have, and I don't want to offend anybody, but within the St. Louis culture, right, we have what we call the Chinaman, which is our Chinese culture where we go get Chinese food. That's what it's called, Chinaman. They can't even use the N-word. They'll cuss, they'll fist fight, whatever. The moment one of them try to use the N-word, baby, they ripping the bars off where the checkout part at. We don't play that. I don't know where we got into this mindset that, we let everybody else use it. They don't want nobody to use it but black people. 2, what is nigga? Amongst us, what is nigga? Right? It has multiple definitions. So the fact that we're just screaming and yelling and saying that it's automatically a disrespectful term, knowing that we don't always use it in a disrespectful sense, it has multiple connotations. And I'm specifically speaking about N-I-G-G-A or N-I-G-G-U-H, depending on however you want to spell it. We're arguing with people that want to call us niggers with the hard E-R. We're arguing with them about us creating a word for ourselves and using it amongst ourselves, whether it be for endearment, whether it be because we cussing each other out, whatever it is, it's our word as a collective, as a black people, not Africans. I love my African brothers and sisters, but our experiences are not the same. They've said that. We aren't the same. They even looked down on us because we were the weaker of them, and how we ended up over here. That's why most people are now, they're claiming that, I'm not African American, I'm Black American. The experience is not the same. It's our word. We can choose as a collective. Us as a collective can choose to get rid of it, can choose to use it, can choose to do whatever the fuck we want with it. It's our word.
Wait, let me ask you a question really quick. Hold on. I want to ask your sister a question. a question based on her submission. And this is coming from a personal note because of a room that I was hosting this weekend. Do you think there's a difference when a black person refers to another black person? Or, let me rephrase, let me give you the example. When a black person refers to the black community as N-word hard ER, with the hard ER, does it carry different meaning, different weight than the...
And for me, it carries the same weight that a white person would use it when they used it back in the day.
If a black person calls another black person hard ER, that's coming from a hateful space. Yes. A racist, anti-black space.
Yes. You're choosing to separate yourself from who you are, a part of who you are, and then also, too, putting us down along with the way somebody else would. Very much so.
Alrighty. First off, I just want to say, it be African American people waiting on a white person to say nigger, because that's their chance to pop you in the mouth. Now, I'm not saying me, but y'all remember when that black man threw that hat off and what happened? There was a bunch of N-words throwing.
Oh, when the falling chair came out?
And the falling chair came out. Y'all know what happened down there. So, if it's any Caucasians in here, because I don't like to say black and white. I like to say the proper names. Because black is just like disrespectful too. Like if somebody be like, oh, look at that black person over there. I'm African American. Address me as that. When you say that, because I'm not black. Black is black. We know what black is. So that's disrespectful. That's more disrespectful to me than nigga, actually. Because nigga has been just this word where now it's used as slang now. Now it's just, so everybody using it, Easy got that, everybody, people on the West Coast, they say, nigga, so Mexicans and whites, they seen that stuff, so they comfortable with saying it now. Like notwithstanding. But I would just say, if there's any Caucasian people in here, just moving forward, I wouldn't be quick to call up her African American person the nigger, fucking nigger, because you're gonna get popped in your mouth.
See, it's like I'm biracial.
Get in the queue, please.
Oh, yeah, I got you, black girl, right after Alaska.
Sorry. To realize there's a queue, my bad.
No, it's all good. Go ahead, Alaska, and then black girl.
And let me jump in there.
Okay,
you guys go first. Black girl goes first.
Okay, go ahead, black girl, and Alaska, then Keith.
Okay. The other lady left, but she had said, we're not okay with, white people using the ER, but other races can use that. And that's not accurate or true, because I'm in the Bay Area, California, and a lot of these Latinos at these schools use the N-word, and that is not okay. Okay, I'm an advocate for bullying. A child got bullied, got called all kind of derogatory racial names at school, and I am not for any other culture using that word at all, including white people, all races. You are not allowed to use that word and think I'm just okay with it. No, thank you. It's not okay. And a lot of these people who use the word on this app, I could guarantee you their ass would not be using the word live.
Thank you, sis. Go ahead. Who's next?
I guess that moves the conversation forward.
It was Alaska.
Yeah, no, I just want to say it's
Hold on. Can I just say this? I'm learning something on the app, and I'll make this really quick, Alaska. And y'all, I know some of y'all think I'm trying to be funny, and truly I'm not. I'm learning on this app that there are a lot of white folks, seemingly, they're telling themselves they're into a lot of weird race play, foreplay on this app with black people. It gets them off. So they might walk up to you and call you the N-word because they want you to knock the shit out of them because of that weird racial foreplay shit that they into. They want to be degraded and talked down to on the stages and get cursed out. You never know what some of these weirdos are feeling and how turned on they are behind the scenes.
That's a room, That's a conversation.
Right? There's a whole play.
I've been saying this.
Right? There's a whole Broadway stage play. A brother wrote it. I think it's called Sex Play or Slave Play.
Yes,
Slave
Play.
Girl, bye. Who is next in the queue? Who's that? Alaska?
Yeah, it's just I'm biracial, I've light skin, and because of that, obviously there are many other reasons, but because of that, I make sure that I am not saying things or acting certain ways, in mixed company, because I know, well, I'm sure we all know how white people can be. But even through all that, and everything I've been through, and all the work I do for, black liberation and Palestine, whatever, I've just never had the inkling of that audacity of, well, I've done this, so I should be allowed to say, I don't understand. It's not going to get, I can't get a job over a white person because I can say it. I can't, there's no reason. It's very confusing to me, but that's it. Sorry, not really a point, just venting.
No problem, Alaska. Thank you. Was that your land? Did you?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
It's Keegan and then E. You got it. Go.
Yeah, so, I just am going to reiterate a point, which is, first of all, what I also have seen, again, this is through social media and just in my own personal life, is that in conversations that tend to get heated and names are thrown out, I think that there is this stereotype whether or not you guys believe in it, it's true, which is that when you say a word to a black person, even if it's not the N-word, right? Even if it's just like you guys are just disrespecting each other back and forth, a lot of black people are just willing to throw hands, just like openly, over just like bad discourse. And again, this screams just decorum. It screams just no emotional intelligence. When you can't have discourse with someone, even if it's through disrespect, both sides throw in disrespect, and then all of a sudden, even if the N-word's not thrown, let's say you throw out anything, you could be like, you're a B-word, you're whatever, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna throw hands with you because you said that. And again, I truly believe that black people are like, well, why are white people trying to police us? I think black people literally are trying to police white people. I think that they're like, you can't say this word, and if you do, we're gonna beat you up for it. And again, it's literally, it's not like you guys have solved the problem. It's not like the N-word isn't still being used very highly. If anything, it just creates like this, like, white people are just like, okay, first of all, we know that this is the word. Like, no other group has a word that, like, they're like, if we say this to you, you're gonna freak out.
Also,
like,
can we go
it's
back
crazy.
and forth?
It's
So
just
wait, hold on, let him
can you
land,
and I
ladies.
go back and
Wait, hold on.
forth?
Oh, who was? I'm trying to Nicole. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was you.
Nicole. Well,
Nicole.
no. Yeah, I just wanted to go back and forth with Keegan. So, Keegan, what context do you want to say nigger or nigga?
I don't want to say it at all. I want to make this very clear. I don't believe in cursing or using slur words in any vocabulary in your daily life.
What other ones as well? You use faggot and what else?
Well, again, I do have, these are a few different words that have just now in the last few years become socially unacceptable. And I think that that's more of a debate on why they become socially unacceptable.
They were unacceptable at the time as well. I will tell you that. The people who they were being taught, I'm pretty sure they knew.
Yeah. Sure. And
I just want you to stop saying that those words were.
So can I finish with Keegan really quick? So Keegan, if you don't want to use the word ER or nigga, you don't want to use either word. Apologize to those that are offended for me using it, but I just want to put it on out there. If you don't want to use the word, then why do you care who in the black community uses it? Or how they use it?
It's not that I don't care about you guys using it. I care about the reaction and the vitriol they show white people. It's just complete hypocrisy. If a black person
stop right there.
You're not fighting over it.
So what context? I got you. So you mad that they use it and they get popped in the face. So now what context did they use that word, Keegan?
Why would context matter?
Because we established context. We've been saying for the last 2 to 3 hours that we have established context, and people agree with it, disagree with it, but we use it in a certain context. However we use it, whatever context we use it. So if you're using a word out in public that you don't understand, every other word we use in the American, in the English language, there's context. So in this word, context should matter. Explain how that works to me. Explain that.
I could, if you want me to, I can post videos of white people saying it without a degrading way to it, and black people still popping him in the mouth. Again, context doesn't matter to a black person. That's my point. Is that you guys have even said this? Context doesn't matter. You can't use it.
So why are you so scared to get popped in the mouth?
Well, I'm not scared.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I get on my YouTube channel, Keegan, and I say kike, and they pull my channel, guess what? They have a right to do it. Because why? I said something offensive. Whether they say it in their community or not, if I said dago on my YouTube channel and they pull it, there's nothing I can say. Why? Because they're offended. If I say fag, they're offended. Okay? So if they tell you, if we say it's none of your business, but if you say it out, I don't care what context, I'm going to pop you. How you going to get mad at that? It's their word, and they make the rules for their word. Because, Keegan, I just want to say this, and then I'm done now, I promise. It baffles me when white people on this app, you all are funny. Because y'all are so angry. Black people scream racism.
Funny as hell.
So you're literally sitting here telling them how to, because we want to use it, we can use it. Forget the context. Forget how you determine it. Forget it. We get to tell you how to use it, when to use it, and any black person that agrees with that, we cool with you. We take a negative word that we put out there for whatever reason. If you say it in your house, we get to tell you how to use it, where to use it, when to use it, and then you come onto this app and tell us there's no racism. You're always crying racism. You're literally doing exactly what we've been telling you to do. You get in our business and tell us what to think and how to and what to say. For whatever reason, whether you agree with the word or not.
And how to
You don't have the right to tell me or anybody else what we can say. That's why it's white supremacy. Because you get to tell me as a black person what I can and cannot say. And you can say it with your whole chest. You shouldn't be able to say that word because I can't say it. That by definition is white supremacy. Now go ahead, Keegan.
Is there a word that I can say that you can't say?
There's a lot of stuff that y'all
that
you can't do.
Well, you just said it, though. Is there a word, though, that I can say that you can't say, Nicole?
I'm not going to my workplace, Keegan. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm not going to say white trash. I'm not going to say that. And I've seen the white people. I've seen friends of mine say white trash. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because I know it's offensive, and I don't know I don't.
You know what's crazy, Nicole? You know how that.
It's
you know how that.
and
you
it
know
could
how
possibly be offensive.
Do you
and
know
it's
how
just
they
being
came
a
up with that word,
respectful
Nicole?
human being.
Nicole, do you know how they came up with that word, white trash?
I read the book.
Right. So it was coined by white people that didn't want to live around certain whites that couldn't act right.
Absolutely, and even though they use that word, I'm still, out of respect, still not gonna say that word. Whether I feel it in my heart, like, y'all calling us niggers, but look at y'all, I'm still not gonna say it because it is disrespectful. So what you're basically saying on this app is that we want to reintroduce racial slurs.
Well,
we want to racially slur you in your face and take it, and don't be offended. Is that what you're saying, Keegan?
You already used the K word. I find that to be way more offensive.
But no.
Just me using that word. Just you using that word. Just me saying that word offended you. But we can say the N word. You're fighting to say the N word. But the K word, you want to shut that down, right? You probably gonna go to clubhouse. Shut her down because she said the word. But you want to fight to say the N word? And then you want to claim there's no white supremacy. Y'all are funny. This is hilarious.
One mic on Nicole, ladies and gentlemen. Let Nicole land, and then we'll pass the mic around. Let Nicole land.
I'm done. It's just hilarious.
We're discoursing back and forth. But Nicole, and I think you're just missing my point. I don't want to say it. I think that slurs just shouldn't be used whatsoever. And again, if you guys want to debate on other words being slurs, we can have that debate. But I don't think that like slurs, especially racial slurs, should be used. I think that it doesn't help society move forward. It doesn't show any decorum to each other and respect towards each other. And that's why I think that white people, we find it socially unacceptable. I know that you guys think not. I think that during my 4th of July grill out, there was 0 N-word said. But I know that you guys think that in closed circles, white people are just saying
Don't believe it.
Again. I know, I understand that, but I'm just telling you guys that most of white society, middle class, upper middle class, we just don't say the word. And so, sure, white trash people use the word, but...
Can you show me the study you found that from?
Hold on. Let Keegan land. Hold on.
I'm so sorry. When someone says the black community does this and they're part of the black community, I have no knowledge. I have knowledge about the white community. I live in the white. I'm white. I'm white. I'm upper echelon white, guys. I know what we say. We don't use that word. I literally didn't grow up with that word.
You guys are gatekeepers.
I agree with Keegan. Like, besides Clubhouse, I have never heard anyone use the N-word before.
I'm glad that y'all have been advocate on not using it, but there are ones that do. And with that being said, Keegan, can we play the blame game? So one of the things that you stated earlier was that black people typically lead to violence. We aren't good with articulating ourselves, right? Let's play the blame game. Why do we lead to violence? Why are we not good at articulating ourselves? Because at some point in time, somebody decided it didn't matter what we had to say. We were still going to be beat. Some point in time, it didn't matter what we had, what we felt. We were still going to be torn apart by dogs, right? Let's play the blame game, okay? You can't keep trying to tell us what we should find okay and how we should deal with the trauma that we've have to deal with, right? Everybody does things in their own way. Y'all gotta deal with the consequences and the trauma of y'all's ancestors doing whatever and whatever the fuck y'all wanted to do to us. We gotta deal with the consequences of our people letting them do that to us, right? And within that, the black community wants to use the N word. They want to say nigga, because most of us are not saying nigger, we're saying nigga, and because they want to use that, y'all are upset. That makes no sense. I stand 100% with Nicole. You cannot, like, I get it. Y'all are the majority or whatever. Blah 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 blah. Y'all have always set the tone and always set the rules for this America. But at some point, somebody's gonna say no. And that's the problem. Y'all do not know what to do when somebody tells y'all no. You don't get to have control over us. You don't get to dictate how we feel. You don't get to dictate what we say. That's a problem for y'all. That's y'all's problem. I think this is JB's room, right? He kept out the room earlier was the socially acceptable and words have power. And I said earlier, and I have to correct myself, and this is the part. I think this is the only thing I've agreed with Anthony on. Words technically don't have power. Just the same way an unwielded gun doesn't have power. The power does not take place until it's in a person's hand, and until even then, the bullet has been shot. Right? With words, they only take place when the person receiving that word gives it that power. So if you not and you say you don't use it, so I won't use you as an example. But if any white person decides that they want to use a word, particularly the word nigga, right? Because there's a collective understanding that if you add the hard er, you are going to be dragged the fuck. Your skin will be left on the pavement. That's a strong understanding, nigga. Because you're trying to be cute, you want to be cool, you want to be in the in crowd, but you're trying to get into a club that's not for you. You probably get a little bit more leeway with it, right? They may tell you, hey, chill out. They probably won't hit you, but they definitely gonna tell you, hey, chill out, don't say that, whatever. The problem is that when we go to tell y'all that, y'all fight us. Like, how does someone set a boundary with you, but we're the ignorant ones, we're the niggers? But y'all act more ignorant than what we do half the time. Do we have ignorant moments? Yes, but that's people as a collective. But for whatever reason, we have a special word. What y'all was doing to us was real niggerish, but the word was put on us. Y'all don't want to take no accountability the things that your ancestors did, the entitlement that y'all have today because of what your ancestors did, and all the other things. Like, let's be real. Nicole was not wrong in anything that she said. If we're gonna play the blame game, let's play the blame game.
Can I get in the queue?
When it comes down to it, this is y'all's fault.
I would like to get in the queue.
Deal with the.
Okay, hold on. Let's let Eve.
Deal. I'm finishing with this. Deal with the consequences that your ancestors set up for you when they decided to put us in slavery. Deal with them. Get over it. You can't have it. You can't dictate what we saying, and it is what it is. I'm done. I'm sorry for being so long.
No, hold on. Who wants?
I thought I was after Eve.
Who's that? Brittany?
Yeah.
And then who wants to go after Brittany? I see. Okay.
Alrighty. Okay. So I just want to pretty much, I'm not like piggybacking all the way off of you, Eve, but I'm just going to kind of elapse for maybe 60 seconds. The only thing I would have to say is, like, I'm not holding on to anything what's going on, like, with our ancestors and stuff like that, because I didn't even know them, like, but I'm sad about everything that happened. Like, I hate that, a lot of our black men were butt broken, because a lot of white cowboy guys, they was having sex with our men, and yeah. But anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but what I'm mad about right now, today in 2025, what I've noticed that's still going on and what is going on, and I feel like a lot of us African American people, we need to open up our eyes to it. What's going on right now is that now the new KKK stuff that I feel like that white people are doing is they're not allowing us to stay on our jobs. So now they're bullying us. So we're getting the job. We're educated enough to get the job. We have the degrees to get the job. But when we get the job, they're bullying us off the job. So they're doing anything they can to get under our skin. They're trying to set little booby traps because we're Black or African American, and they're trying to fire us. And, you know, they're Black. They're
for years.
And it's happening more now. It's bad, and this is why a lot of us African American, not us, me personally, they're struggling, and things are going on because even the hospitals, like the big hospitals and engineering companies, and my brother just sued some white people out in California because they were being racist. So that's my focus right now today. If we can get that to change, maybe Black people will start loosening up on y'all. Like, I'm just over it. I'm tired of it. And I just feel like a lot of white people, they are mean. You can't even say hi to them. One day I said hi to a white lady and she was just like, don't say hi to me. She shook her head like, you can't even be nice to them. So all I'm saying is they're making it weird. They're keeping on going. They're keeping the slavery stuff going, and that's why all of us are still mad. That's why all Black people are still mad. And I don't even know why a lot of Black people are even dealing with white people. But that's a whole nother subject for another day. White people are demonic to me. They're very evil. And I'm just sick of their stuff.
Okay, Brittany, wow. That reminds me, before I turn it over to Pepe, that reminds me, I lived in California for 20 years. I had to file 2 racially based lawsuits against 2 companies. One was a very big news publication. I won't drop the names. And believe it or not, California has some very interesting laws as they relate to protect workers. Both of these lawsuits came at the recommendation of folks in the medical industry. I didn't even know I had these options until people in the medical industry, when my ass was having panic attacks because of dealing with racial microaggressions at work, right? And the medical staff is like, did you know about this law? Go get your coin, sis. So listening to Brittany speak reminds me, for a couple years now, I've been thinking about hosting a webinar to teach my people especially how to handle the racial microaggressions at work, how to navigate these spaces, and what you can do, because they don't care. You go to HR and complain, they're just building a case against you, right? So what's the end result? I feel like, and I'll land here, this day and age, somebody asked earlier, should there be some laws in place or repercussions for the N-word? Well, I'm gonna take it a little step further. I think if you want to engage in racial behavior on the workforce, you should pay. Racism at work, especially if you want to be one of those Looney Tunes that polices Black people on the job, insults them, gaslights them, the racial microaggressions, and y'all know, Black people know, and the folks who do it, they know what it means, then you should pay. And my people need to know how they need to collect evidence to get paid, right? Anyway, thank you, Brittany. The light bulb went off. Pepe?
Yes, I just wanted to say something brief, yet very deep and profound. All right, before I go on, okay? Nigga, please.
Pepe, I was giving you the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my
they do
gosh.
They say it and they run because they don't want to get their ass beat. White people know that if they say that nigger word, white people know they can do anything they want to us. But if they say that nigger word, they know they gonna get stoned to the ground. And that's why Keegan was so adamant about that punch, because he doesn't want that punch. But my thing about it is, I'm gonna say this to our African American people: let's not even give them what they want. Don't even stoop to their level. When they call me a nigger, I'm going to keep on walking. And I'm going to be like, I'm a nigger getting in a Lexus, baby, with money, honey. I'm a nigger that owns her own home, honey. Yes, baby, I am a nigger that is making it. And you're struggling, honey. In 2025, white people are struggling, man. And guess what? When I pull up on the side of them in whatever car I choose to drive for the day, they heads is down. These mugs is jealous, man. Because they silver spooned. They they get things passed down to them. They don't even know nothing about working hard to get them bachelor degrees and all of that. Man, they be cheating. The mama be helping them, all kind of stuff. And they be hating on us because we really be working hard for our stuff. And when we get hired on these jobs, they do everything they can to try to get us fired. And that's my only issue today with white people. Like, leave me alone. You know, I earned this job.
Brittany. It's because of DEI, Brittany. You only got that job because of DEI.
At the end of the day, that's my spiel right now, Queen. I'm sick of it. I'm up against attack on my job. I literally work with majority of white people. And if I don't do what they say, you know, I'm going to be fired. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you'll be seeing me. I be the only black person working hard. It's barely like African American people at my job. And it's mainly them or whatever. And you just better be working. They sitting down, they on their phones, they laughing, they shopping, but I'm busting my butt, and I don't say nothing though, but I just don't like that. Like, why am I still being overworked on my job like I'm a slave, and then they're sitting on their phone? We all have the same degree. Everybody should be up and moving, but they're sitting on their phones. I even witnessed a white lady one day, she threw a phone at another coworker and she was still able to keep her job. Like, they really have depression. They're dealing with a lot of stuff, and I feel like they take it out on us still because we strong and we know how to get through things. Like, times is hard for white people right now today.
Brittany, I was being sarcastic, by the way.
I didn't know.
I was being sarcastic.
It just feels good to know that a lot of white people are actually, it doesn't feel good. Like, I'm not like happy about it, but it just God is working because they're struggling. In today's society, white people are struggling. They're on meth, they're on blues, they're not making good choices. They are not.
So are you suggesting that this is some sort of a spiritual karma?
It's economic. Like, we're all feeling it economically, and for white people, they're down bad. Like, they are down bad. Like, for us to get into this type of economic situation as a country, white people have been very overprivileged and have overspent for a very long time. So, yes, you know, the girl does make a very valid point about that. And it's just a reality. You have a lot of white people complaining about it during the election. This is why we're making these decisions, cut social, spending programs so that, we can reinvest into small businesses and, uplift, set America, which does include white people. So yes, white people are down bad.
White people are running this country into the ground because of their greed and their evilness, and they're starting to get exposed. And this year is the year where God said everybody's gonna start paying for their sins. So I don't know what y'all did, if y'all out there hurting people, being mean, getting people fired because they black, messing with black people, cheating, whatever you doing, because I'm a God-fearing woman. Everybody this year, God said it's about to start paying for their sins. So I don't know. Y'all need to start changing y'all ways, white people, because I'ma choose up with the Chineses. Every other race, I'ma be with them, and we're not gonna stick with y'all. Cause other races like us, actually. I like Indian people.
Hold on, mic on Nicole. Hold on. Yes, Nicole.
Hey, can you ask JB to do a room about Elon and his foolishness?
What's he up to now?
He started a new party. I wanted to talk about that.
Oh yeah, he did. He opened a room about the America Party.
He did.
He opened up a whole house, or Roger opened up a whole house.
Roger has a house, the America Party.
Oh my goodness.
He's been talking about it too. Yeah.
Y'all failed because y'all was supposed to ping me in there.
Okay, next time I'll ping you.
Okay, cool.
No, but I don't want to, Brittany was saying something, and I was going to ask her a question, but now I don't remember what it was. Hold on, Rock Ready. I'm sorry, Brittany, did you land? Because I was going to ask you something, but I forgot, and if you're still here when it comes to me, I will.
Well, I was just saying that I feel like, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to land my plane because I wasn't able to land, but in my opinion, I feel like white people don't have any flavor, and they steal everything from every other race, and then they try to make it theirs. So I think they're mad, and I don't know why. Like, I don't hate white people, but I'm just sick of their evilness. Like, I want to know, why are white people so mean? And then they call us the mean ones. Like, for a while, I used to be blunt, because, like, when I was younger, it was all, like, attitude. Black people always just say, attitude. We had attitude. They literally put, if you was black, you was labeled already, you had attitude just because you were black. But now, the COVID after COVID and just, opening up my eyes, and I've been seeing white people have tantrums. They've been throwing tantrums, and I've been seeing how they act. They're really the ones that got the attitude. They do. You come in the morning, black people be out happy. We happy. I'm making $50 an hour. Miss RN, I worked hard for. Hey, good morning, everybody. They don't like that kind of spirit. They get to holding their head down and drinking their coffee, moving all fast, and they don't even want to say hi. So, and it's fine with me because, but I'm not going to downplay who I am for them. I'm sick of downplaying who I am for them.
Okay, Brittany, hold on, because we don't want to turn this into a Black Panther party session.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we just turned it out, though. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
You might make me put on my Wakanda cape. I don't want to put on my Wakanda cape while I'm trying to manage all this good, delicious black energy on the stage. Hold on, sis. Keegan, I think Keegan is a member of the white delegation. I'm hungry. I'm thinking of delegation and
delicatessen.
Yeah. Keegan, did you want to respond as a member of the white race?
Well, I just had a question for Brittany. Brittany, can you show us where the white person touched you? Because you are just, you're very upset.
That might be the wrong question.
I'm gonna just tell you, the white people didn't touch me anywhere. I'm speaking facts. This is not my life as far as what I'm describing, like if white people did something to me, but I do work with you guys and I come across you guys quite, like a lot. And I just feel like you guys are just too much. For real, like, you guys need to calm down and stop thinking because I'm black I have attitude, or because I'm having a conversation that I'm being aggressive. Even just like now, I'm just, bringing my opinions to the floor, and you think that I'm upset or I'm being aggressive or a white person did something to me. I'm just only speaking how y'all are. Leave people alone. Stop being so mean. Stop having attitude. Stop talking about people. Stop lying. Stop trying to get people fired from their jobs. Stop being Karens. Mind the business that pays white people. Stop using the word nigger. Stop being greedy. Stop trying to act like this world is yours. Like, come on. Am I saying anything to offend you?
Well, hold on, Brittany. I have a question for you. How do you feel about the good white folks of the Carnival Cruise Line? They have banned rap and hip-hop music, and guess who has been the biggest supporter?
And let one of these white people say that shit mid-ocean and see if they make it back to shore. Let one of these white people use the N-word on a Carnival cruise and see if they make it back to shore.
No, 100%.
I think Carnival banning, and they did ban rap music. That's like been insinuated, but they did ban public, like your portable speakers and loud music. And I guess in their like clubs that they have. I've never been to Carnival, but it is really telling though that Carnival is the cheaper option, and they're having these problems of like I've seen so many fights.
Keegan, people are on vacation. If they want to, if those black women want to bust it down on vacation, they want to take their wig off and swing it up in the air, let them do it. I didn't see anybody complaining with these white bitches going to fucking Mardi Gras in New Orleans and letting their titties out. Like, what are we talking about?
But to be fair, Keegan is correct.
There's some black people where that's a part of black heritage and history, and they can't even take their kids on spring break because you have a bunch of drunk white women showing their tits to the whole world.
I can't take you. All right, Mardi Gras. If you're a parent and you take your children to Mardi Gras and you don't know that there's going to be public nudity, it's just like taking your kid to Pride.
Yeah, that's bad parenting.
You don't see black women bare-chested on Carnival cruise lines.
But listen, with Carnival Cruise, and I'll share this story again because I think it's relevant. Just 2 months ago, I was at a public park with my daughter. My daughter's 2.5 years old. We're at a splash pad, very, very hot out. And we were there for about 45 minutes. We were there with all sorts of races. We were having a great time all together. And then 20 black people showed up. Again, there was other black people at the park, of course. She was actually playing with a little black girl the whole time. I was talking to Dad. We were having a good chat about sports. And then a group of 20 black people showed up, and they were there for a birthday party at a public park. That's totally fine. But they brought their portable speaker, and they started playing this rap music about like twerking, and it had really, really vulgar words in it, and just like degrading women, like calling the B word. And so I took my daughter and left, and I saw the black dad actually do the same. And I just think, like, why can't like Carnival doing that is just showing, hey,
well, that's your fault. That's your fault. You should move. You should use your white privilege and move your family into a place where I grew up, with a neighborhood association, gated community. We had security. Okay, well, you could have called a security guard, and you could have had the rules of the neighborhood association, enforced.
No, this
right.
This,
so again, maybe you're not doing enough as a white person to shield your child from that.
Adam, time out. First of all, tell me the neighborhood that has like a 10,000 square foot splash pad, and I'll move there. But with an HOA that only the neighborhood can use, and I'll figure it out.
Crystal Cove.
Number two is
Crystal Cove, Newport Beach, California.
Number two is that actually, again, this is what happens, is that these suburban areas, they get subsidies to build affordable housing, so they do so. And these affordable housing is moved in by individuals who don't know.
Wait, are you saying only black people live in affordable housing?
No.
Did you go up to the group and just say, hey? Did you go up to the group and just say, like, look, hey, we have kids, do you mind playing something less?
No, you might get beat up.
I without a doubt, and you're absolutely right, Alaska, I could have done that.
It's a public park.
But with me just being with my daughter, and these individuals wearing, one of the mamas was wearing pajamas, one of the dads, surprisingly, was wearing designer jeans.
And then another one had a wife beater, and they all circled around me and threatened to take my daughter from me.
Well, no. But I think you guys understand. Especially with a white man. If I went over there and I said, "Hey, can you guys turn down your music?" I didn't want, in any type of way, a confrontation.
Keegan, move into a neighborhood like the rest of the upstanding white people, where they have neighborhood associations.
There's not one neighborhood.
Okay, but you're going to a public park, and you're telling other people how they should be enjoying the public park. If you want to be able to have that say, then go to a neighborhood association, spend the extra money.
My tax dollars is for this public.
No, but you're right, and they pay taxes too. And they pay taxes too. That's why they're busting it down in the public park. If you want to have a say over how people bust it down in the public park, then move into a neighborhood association.
How do you know that you pay more taxes just because they're black?
We should just allow the homeless to live in our parks. We should allow drug addicts to use our parks. We should allow ghetto people to play their.
These aren't problems where you have a neighborhood association.
And we say nothing about it.
Yeah, they're people.
You send that white man with the jelly donut beer gut with his little flashlight, and he tells them, you either leave or I'm calling the police.
Because even Adams, who's a black person who actually shares respect and knows decorum, he doesn't care. He says, who cares if they ruin our public spaces? Let's just move away from them.
But how are you going to move into the hood and then complain when people are at the public park in the same damn hood?
It sounds like the hood suburb. I didn't move into the hood. They moved to me. I didn't. They're coming to me now.
Well, then you need to move further, because apparently now you live in the hood.
An hour away from the metro.
You live in the hood, Keegan. You live in the hood. Move out of the hood.
This is what I'm talking about.
No, he said they both affordable housing next year.
Hold on, take a line out of your own fucking party's playbook. If you don't like it, leave.
Yeah, I would just like to speak to that. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Brittany. So I would just like to rebuttal to that. So you said that it was like 20 Black African American people that came to a park. That sounded like that sound like he was exaggerating, like always. That's what y'all always exaggerate.
Or he was in the hood.
It was a birthday party.
Wait a minute, let me finish this. If it was a birthday party and they had music playing, then why not just either you left, you did the right thing, but why complain about it? Like it was a whole party.
Because
and just because they're African American and throwing a party and they're listening to certain type of music, what does that make them? Did that make them bad people? I'm trying to figure out what's the whole
disrespectful.
It's disrespectful of what and who?
This is what I'm talking about. It's like the smoke detector beef. You guys don't even understand it.
Why would we understand the family? They threw a party at a community park.
That's fine. I don't mind
it
that.
It says this is an open park for you to go throw a party for your baby. And you were upset about that. This is what I'm saying. Let me finish this. One mic, please, on me. Brittany, this is to your point. Somebody in the chat said, because it's rude to play vulgar music when little kids are around.
Says who? Because those are those people's kids, and you can't really help that's a party and it's music. You guys were listening too loud. You guys were being Karens. And at the end of the day, that does not make them bad parents because they decided to let their kids, I'm sure it was teenagers there. It wasn't just like little bitty babies crawling on the floor. So, and half the time, if I raise my kids right, my kids don't even look, they're not even trying to really listen to detail of the cursing language. But the fact that you heard their music, you were too close to them, so boundaries, and you are a Karen. And this is the stuff that I'm talking about because you're trying to police things when you should be trying to police your people on using the nigger word. That's what you should be doing.
See, Brittany, I believe the same things that Keegan does. But I'm not going to sit there and police somebody in a public government space. That's why I grew up in neighborhood associations, okay? You have more control over shit like that when you're living behind gates. But when you don't, then you get to put up with what everybody else as a taxpayer gets to be able to equally have the right to do in their public park.
But at the end of the day, why be a Karen, though? Like, I get what you're saying, go move to a neighborhood with HOA and all of that. But let's just listen. Let's just look at the issue here. It's not even an issue.
But am I not giving him more of a realistic solution to practically fix his problem?
Yeah,
as opposed to brainwashing and changing somebody else. Changing the minds of 20 people in a park versus explaining to him how he can do better and move into a better neighborhood. That's crazy.
Exactly. So obviously he can't afford it. And then my thing about it is you're going to sit up here and complain about these people throwing a party for their babies when this is the stuff that I'm talking about. You guys look for any little thing to shame African-American people and just want to have something to say about African-American people. We don't say that when you guys are doing your motorcycle roundups and you guys got your jackets on and you're going around and you got your bats and you're beating people up at the bars and you're busting people's heads out and beating people up and going and finding black kids and hanging them in trees and things like that. But we do say stuff. But what is the problem here? All I see is a father trying to be a father and give a party to his baby, and I land my plane.
Or holding drunken auctions in historically black historical sites, okay, just because they want to bust it down for Mardi Gras. Black people have really turned a blind eye for many decades as this disgusting practice continues to remain in place while they shame black women for shaking their ass fully clothed. Now, they may have body parts hanging out, but they're not naked, freaking slurping down beer and begging for plastic beads for sucking dick. Okay, so I don't want to ever listen to you talk anything about black women or to freak off. None of those things exist today, but you still have a bunch of drunk, slut, monkey white women that like to get drunk, do a bunch of coke, okay, lift up their bare breasts up onto a balcony just for some plastic beads. So I don't want to listen to you talking about...
Adams, wait, hold up. Weren't half of those white bitches also just flashing their tits on Maury just for Maury beads?
And Jerry Springer, see, you were too young to remember, okay? These white women, let me tell you something. People want to talk about how black women were letting out body parts and stuff like that. No, these white women were holding auctions for their bodies on national daytime television, showing their tits. They even took the shit to video cassette distribution. Jerry Springer, too hot for TV. You didn't see no black women on freaking Girls Gone Wild. Those were white women. So I don't want to hear anybody talk about black women in that regard if you're not willing to have a conversation about white women when they get a little bit of liquor and they're in college and all the whoring that they do for a bunch of plastic beads. At least black women are trying to get a bag, but your white women will give it up for some freaking colorful Mardi Gras bead.
What throws me off is that the same bitches that love to say, oh, if you don't like it, then leave. If you don't like it, then just leave, forehead. Hey, Keegan, if you don't like the area that you currently live in, just fucking move, retard. It's not that hard.
Obviously, he's poor. Obviously, he's poor like the African-American people he talk about, and he can't afford to move.
Hold on, guys. Let Keegan.
First of all, this just happened 2 months ago. You don't think that there's already been conversations with my wife and I about living in our area? There has been. Number two is that this is happening at a broad scale. When you're taking white suburban areas and because of metropolitan areas becoming gentrified, and black people are moving out and they're trying to find areas to live at, and again, this was and this isn't black people only, because
so wait, you just admitted they're being gentrified, so you're mad that white people are moving into black spaces, and then in return black people have to go to white spaces.
No, you have to hear my point. You're not listening to my point. Again, I don't mind black people moving in. That's not what I have a problem with. I have a problem with then these individuals not showing any form of. If I went into the hood and I started playing country music and honky tonk and literally racist music, the hood would be like, yo, this is our culture. If I started I don't know hood culture, but if I went in there and disrespected hood culture, I would assume that people get mad. You're disrespecting white suburban culture when you come in and you have and there's no respect for decorum, and there's no idea of what we find acceptable. So you move into our communities, you don't know what you find acceptable, and then you go, well, if you don't like it, leave, and then we leave, and then you follow us where we left, and then we have to leave again, and then all that's going to happen again is that you're just going to follow us again.
But don't you think that black people have the same grievances?
I mean, if it's their house and they own it, so why are you complaining about
That's what I'm saying.
You're saying our communities? How is that your community? Just because you own a home and you live a block right next door to me.
Communities? Like, what are we even talking about now? So black.
If I move in a community that doesn't have an HOA and it is a suburban community, you're not going to tell me how to do anything at my house.
Thank you.
Again,
you come on my house, you come in my lawn, you mess with my family. That'll be the last time you mess with anybody's family.
This is not the problem. The problem, again, is that this is a multi-million-dollar park that I tax money on. I remember when they zoned this, and we said, hey, your property taxes are going up. We're putting in a.
You're mad that niggas are having fun in public on public property.
Yes, I'm mad that those individuals are having fun, and it's disrupting the way that I'm teaching my child to be raised. I'm not teaching them to listen to any form of.
Choose another fucking route to take your raggedy ass child with. I don't know.
No. We're not doing that, XG. We're not going to talk about his kids. Let's not do that. Come on.
But
again, let's not do that.
And I think this might be truly the where the cusp is of where white and black people are. White people are like, hey, we don't mind you guys being in our communities. We really don't. Just have some decorum.
Keegan,
how dare you tell us to turn down our rap music?
Keegan, number one, I do this for a living, and number two, okay, I'm always going to give you a practical solution. Okay, your practical solution to raise your children in the bubble that you would like to raise them in is to move as far away from black people as you possibly can. And I support you on that. I really do. I'd rather you have a productive, healthy environment to raise your white children in so that they don't develop a bunch of social problems and start antagonizing, later generations of my family. So again, if that's a solution that will make you happy and comfortable as a father, then listen, I will ping you into a private room and we can talk about neighborhood association crime rates, okay, and find you an affordable place to move to where you don't have these problems. Like, you really should look at the bigger picture. Are you going to spend the practical time complaining about this shit and shielding your child from this unnecessary bullshit, or more time enjoying your life with your beautiful family in an ecosystem that's congruent with your values?
Again, an HOA can't, the idea that this stops it just doesn't. And you know that's true, Adams, that anyone can afford an HOA. Just because, here's the thing. As you guys have said, you guys don't have a problem with rap music being played in public spaces. That means that a black person making $150,000, $200,000 who can afford an HOA will have be like, no, I don't mind rap music being played in public. That's just my whole point, is that I don't get why we cannot. Again, this room is truly about this.
Because we don't live in Iran. We don't live in an Islamic republic. Do you understand? People have the ability to play country music in a public park. They have the ability to play rap music in a public park. They have the ability to play whatever the hell they want to. Okay, it is a public park. They pay taxes. They're not breaking the law. To solve your problem, which I'm starting to really question, is it a problem of the environment, or is it a problem with you wanting to be ideologically right? Because if it was a problem for the environment and you wanted to correct that issue as big of an issue as it is for you, then you would take my very sound advice my very sound professional advice, and relocate your family to an ecosystem that's more congruent with your values.
He can't afford it, but to answer to piggyback on what he was saying, Keegan, at this point, if you're watching TikTok and scrolling and doing all of that, and you're doing dances to things that are cussing and stuff like that, then you're still a part of the problem. You need to stop
it. That's the point, is I don't. And I don't get why we have to be in public. I truly just believe that we should have social standards, just like every other country.
We're not robots. We're human.
Hold up. This is the same person that comes to the party of telling people that everyone's a fucking snowflake. But apparently his own child can't even handle hearing a fucking cuss word every now and then from one song without the phone being destroyed.
XG. So again, this goes back to my point, Keegan. Are you more interested in finding your solutions being ideologically right towards a correction and an unreasonable correction of the many different people around you? Because even if people were on that same boat of making that social change, the change is scaled. It doesn't happen overnight. So your kids may be in college and parents themselves before you get a colloquial understanding that that park may not be the place where people feel it necessary to be playing that type of music. So again, I feel like you should have better time spent, and you're doing yourself and your family a disadvantage if these things are so bad and such a negative influence in not seeking alternatives as opposed to complaining about it towards no end. Because you're literally trying to mop up the ocean. You're trying to mop up the ocean, bro.
I'm not gonna lie, Keegan, it really sounds like a bad neighborhood. It sounds like a neighborhood full of meth, booze, fentanyl. Like, why would you even come in the room and tell us anything about that? It sounds like the area you're staying in, it's unsafe.
Let's let Mother get in there. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was gonna say, I mean, part of what Keegan is saying, I don't fully disagree with, right? Like, there are certain areas that require a certain level of decorum, right? Regardless of, and I also will say, like, I think a lot of times, like, there's an association of, like, Black people and people of color with poverty, and it's like, if you really hang out with people of color who are making 170, 200,000, they are not acting like the hood rats that you see in the south side of Chicago.
Thank you,
right?
Nicholas.
Like, they are polished, clean individuals. They're not going to be blasting music, like, and doing all that riffraff. This is not how they operate. They get social pressure within their economic class to conform to certain standards, so they just don't behave like that. So I do think that part of it is likely, where you're at, but I also don't disagree. Like when my parents moved up the economic ladder, they moved us out of an area that was obnoxious. My dad wanted peace and quiet, so he left the Miami for that reason.
Guys, I have a question. Keegan, I have a question. Hold on, Keegan. Wait, you're in the Matrix. Keegan, can you hear me? Hold on. I have a question. Hold on. Keegan, I'm sure you are familiar that, and this goes to your point about playing music in loud spaces, et cetera, especially if you're Black and you're around white folks. So, Keegan, I know you know what the bat signal is, right? Why the bat signal, Batman, why the bat signal is used. Why it's used. Okay, everybody knows the bat signal, why the bat signal is used. Keegan, and I like a diverse social group, Keegan, right? I don't discriminate against anybody. But Keegan, if I moved into a respectable, as they say, white community, and I want to know who the ratchet whites are in the community, the whites that are about that life, the whites that are down, the whites that probably started off rough, maybe they were raised on the opposite side of the tracks. Their play grandma was Black, and she introduced them to chicken and greens and potato salad and macaroni and cheese and seasonings and flavors during the holidays. Then, of course, as they've grown up and made something of their life, they have moved into more appealing accommodations, white neighborhoods. So say I'm living among these white folks who are down with the brown, as they say. Can I not blast my rap and ratchet music out the bedroom window? Like a bat signal to lure the down-ass whites who I want to do some hood rat shit with. Is that not socially acceptable these days? Rap music as a bat signal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to really entertain this, but my point is, first of all, I want to make this really clear where I live. 95 to 97% white. I do not live near a metropolitan area. This is the suburbs. This is mostly small town suburbs, right? But again, there's a housing crisis that is going on in America, and a small part of the county decided to make a subsidized affordable housing. And so this county doing that has introduced a new people, financially different type of people to our community. And not all black, of course, a lot of Indians actually. And I, again, didn't have a problem with it until 2 months ago. I went to the park, and I don't go to that park anymore. Like, understand this. I understand how to move. You guys like act like I'm like, oh, I was just, again, shocked that this is happening in my community. And but people are then shocked when they hear a white man go, oh, I kind of understand what black fatigue is right now. And that kind of sucks that my park that I spent taxpayer money on, that I went to the zoning meeting for to make sure that I got voted because I wanted nice parks for my kids growing up.
They're allowed to do that.
And also for people who don't have children like Adams, understand that just because you have an HOA and you go to one park at your...
For people with no city planning experience like Keegan, it's not your park, Keegan. You didn't pay for the park. Your family doesn't endow the whole city. Right, you're another poor white man, just like those black people playing music at the cookout. So again, Keegan, no. We're going to take this all the way. No. I'm not going to let you finish. I'm not going to let you finish because you're not saying anything of value. 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 So again, children or not, I can afford a better neighborhood than you can. So maybe you should take notes and learn how to do better for your family, Keegan.
Been there before. Hold on. I just opened up this summer, and again, when I took them, we had this interaction. We'll move differently. But my point is, and my point should always be, is that we should, without a doubt, as a society, just like Mother said in the beginning of the statement, which is what social pressures should do, is that we should bring social pressures to individuals who want to live in this low income type of way, low poverty type of way, right? Call it white trash, call it black trash, I don't care what you call it, and say if you're going to move to our areas, you have to have a different type of degree of how you handle yourself. But instead, we tell these people, you're in public, do what you want, and everyone else can move along with you. That's crazy.
I actually agree with Keegan. I mean, sometimes when you go to the beach, right, like, these people don't live here. They just usually drive in for the weekend, and they're playing their riff-raff, loud as fuck music. And I'm so happy that they started giving fines. The city, they got enough pressure from the city council, and they started fining these people because you are disrupting other people's space. And, like, you don't own the beach. You can't just be over there blasting some ghetto-ass shit halfway. Like, I can hear it from, like, literally the other side of the beach. That's insane, right? So I think that there is some level where we, like, yes, people have a right to do what they want in this country, right, in free public spaces, but also you should have consideration for your neighbors when you are in these public environments because you don't own that public environment. So I think when you actually hear what Keegan is saying, it doesn't really sound that crazy. I think people just have forgotten, like, how to be civil with each other nowadays.
A lot of the times people...
No, it's very crazy because, again, like to my whole point, he should stop being lazy and get his lazy up off the fucking internet, complain about other groups of people, and go to get a fucking job and move his family out of that fucking ratchet-ass neighborhood. That's what he should be concerned about. So again, we could be wrapping our heads around talking about changing other people's behavior, or people can step up and be a man and just simply make more of a fucking decent income.
Yeah, I don't think this is all solely income-based, right? Because there's only a certain amount of parks, certain amount of the locations that you have, right? Regardless of which part of the city you live in, right? You're going to interact with people of different economic classes, regardless of where you live, Like, when he provided more details, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes more sense, right? But that's all. I hope you guys are having a wonderful...
I want to ask some of my black voices on the stage and in the room a question real quick, because it's got me to thinking. And I often use this as an example. As we push back, when we have these conversations with mixed voices, black and white, and I know it gets a little heated and spicy, right? And some folks don't like when white folks weigh in on these discussions and vice versa, et cetera, et cetera. But I
don't like when lazy, complaining white people weigh in on these conversations. If you want to ping Grant Cardone and other white people of higher value that don't complain about inflation, that don't complain about the cost of living, or don't complain about struggling, then I'm willing to hear it. But this fake country trailer park bullshit, like I said before, there are different degrees of an insult that you should take from people who call you the N-word. If you're talking to a bunch of people complaining about buying their kids soup and people bumping music up in a park and don't have the autonomy over their own fucking lives to move themselves into a better situation, we most certainly shouldn't listen to their critiques on race.
But I think people are jumping on his neck because...
Wait, okay, no, go ahead, Mother. Go ahead, and then I'll make...
People are jumping on his neck because, first of all, Keegan doesn't have a great reputation on this app. I'll give you that. But the second thing is, like, if everyone's assuming that this is strictly a black-white thing, like, there are, like, my dad hates other Dominicans who are ratchet and obnoxious and loud and do that similar ghetto-ass behavior. So he hangs out with wealthier Dominicans because we are upper-class people, right? Like, it doesn't have to be strictly in the U.S. black and white context. Like, what Keegan's saying doesn't sound that crazy to me. I guess that's my...
People should be able to have fun and be free. I'm not saying like free, like just going around going crazy. But like if I'm in my car and I'm listening to music and it's loud and you look over at me or you put your head down, don't do that. Let me be happy in my car. Let me be happy at the park too if I got a little boom box or a little Bluetooth speaker or something like that. Like stop judging everything every other race does. Watch yourself, judge yourself, because I'm sure you're a sinner and you're not perfect.
Just go to fucking Europe. Just go to fucking Europe. Go to like Switzerland or some shit. Denmark. Find something nice over there. Like that's about it. It's really that simple. If you're tired of black American culture, just go somewhere where no fucking black Americans are.
Oh, he's gonna be complaining in Europe about all the Islamists, you know, praying 5 times a day in their park. Yep. So, you know, it is what it is. He's never gonna be separate.
Because he's privileged. You hear what he's saying? He's talks now.
But he's not, because again, he can't move into a neighborhood association. So again, you can move into a condo and still be in a neighborhood association. So to me, it's like, listen, you're just simply not doing enough. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Keegan. Keegan, it does not matter. It does not matter, Keegan. It does not matter. It does not matter, Keegan. Does not matter, Keegan. Does not matter, Keegan. Does not matter, Keegan. Does not matter. So again, at the end of the day, Keegan, you're ranting.
Okay, I had to mute everyone. Okay, I just muted everyone because I couldn't hear. Keegan, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Adam's mic is louder than yours. And so when you guys are speaking at the same time, the only voice we can hear is Adam's, and yours is very, very, well, I shouldn't say very, but it's low and slightly muffled. So we have to have one mic. We really do. So let's let Adams land, and then Keegan, go ahead.
Right. So, again, you think that the inventory in suburbia is just occupied by people living in single-family homes with families? No, they're not. They're people who have earned a certain income to avoid having to go to the park, okay? People play basketball at the park, right? People take their nieces and nephews to the park. Okay, people have their own family gatherings at the park, Keegan. So again, you're not the only taxpayer on this stage, and you're crying, quite frankly, like a little bitch. I personally have bought and sold many homes, right, that I did not have a mortgage for as a taxpayer in the neighborhood associations. So Keegan, when you want to get to my level of being able to decide where you can live without having these type of annoyances, then come and have a conversation with me. But you're stuck where you're at, and you're stuck with your at because you're flapping your gums as opposed to getting a second source of income to get your family out of that situation.
Again, if I wanted to, first of all, I don't even live in a neighborhood. I mean, I'm speaking as someone who lives on the countryside with property. But for everyone to understand this is that when I want to go experience my community, right? And my community, I would say, is a 10 to 15 minute drive. If I'm able to drive 10 to 15 minutes and just be able to experience everything that my tax dollars is going to. And I get that Adam's like, well, you just move into an HOA and just, but I don't think he has, people with children will tell you this, which is that, guess what? Kids get pretty bored going to do the same thing over and over again. So you kind of sometimes have to venture out. Sometimes you got to go do something more exciting than just going to the one park that they're used to. So then you go to the other public funded parks. And we went to a splash pad. And again, I don't have a problem with my daughter was playing with a black girl the whole time. I was speaking to the father the whole time. We talked about sports. It was actually a great conversation. He left as well though. He was like, oh my, I could see in his face he was annoyed. Because that's what most people are. When they see low, impoverished behavior, they get annoyed. If this was a white family doing it, I would have been annoyed with them. But the difference is I probably would have went to go talk to them. But with a black family, with 20-odd black people, it wasn't just one family, it was multiple families. That I felt like if I go talk to them and there's any form of confrontation, it's just me and my daughter. Like, I'm not going to put myself in that situation, nor should any parent. I don't expect any parent to do so. Never put your children in harm's way just because of that. But so that's the point, though, is that when dealing with these issues, I don't get why we don't go, hey, let's have some social pressure. Let's create some social pressure and say that these behaviors, public speakers in public areas, is bad behavior. In Singapore, they outlawed it. Why? Because they understand it's bad behavior. But in America, we say, well, it's our right to do whatever we want. We should be able to twerk wherever we want. We should be able to flash our boobs wherever we want. I don't agree with any of it. The white community doing it, the black, I don't care. That we should have some stuff that is socially unacceptable. And that's one of those things, is public music in public areas. It's very annoying.
Keegan, are you familiar with The Handmaid's Tale? You would probably welcome Gilead, huh? Blessed be the fruit, sir. I was waiting for you to may the Lord open, and I would know for certain where you stand. But you didn't fall for it, so perhaps there is hope. But no, sometimes the spice of life is what makes life enjoyable. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, and Brittany's on the phone, so she probably won't hear this. I'm just wondering if some of my black voices, I see Reddy, I don't know if you're listening, Reddy, or XG, or black folks in the audience, if you want to weigh in, if I can still say the term black folks. I don't know if that's offensive, but I'm Generation X, so we still say blacks and folks. I was going to say earlier that I often use this example from the Chris Rock stand-up. Remember when Chris Rock said there's black folks and then there's N-words, and even the black folks don't like the N-words. The black folks want to get away from the N-words. Is that what we're hearing? The white folks who like Keegan, and Keegan, I'm not trying to call you out, but since you were at the center of this conversation, and we know the Keegans of the world, is that what do we feel like that is their position? Because, some black folks have the black fatigue too, when it comes to the N-words. And I know black folks know this. I know we are going to be very intellectually honest about black fatigue within the black community. So how do we feel when black people express these same sentiments that the Keegans of the world, Keegan, God bless you, I'm going to be honest with you. This park story must have really impacted you, sir, because I've heard this story a million times. And I'm going to be honest, if I never hear this story about the park again, it'll be a great day. But this is your share. Do you, boo? But I've heard this park story a million times, bro. I need you to have another incident with some black folks so we can spice up this narrative, sir.
Well, this is my most recent incident. I have more incidents, but it's just to show. And again, when I mentioned the story, though, it really does show the difference. I said I believe it's just disrespectful, inconsiderate, and it shows no decorum for public life. And then there's always black people. It's never white people. It's always black people going, "You're a Karen for dictating how people listen to their music in public areas." And I'm like, wow, there's the staunch difference. I know that you don't like hearing the story, but it creates such a dialogue of differences, and truly just a difference of cultural behavior, really, and how we view things differently.
Wait, hold on. Joe B says in the chat, for the record, as a white woman, I tried multiple times to get on the platform, control speech. If you mean this stage, Joe, I didn't see your request come in. You're more than welcome to come up here. But I certainly didn't see you raise your hand. Oh, until now. Joe, I'm working in the background, miss. I swear I'm working. I didn't see it until now, so I apologize. Every voice, listen, I want Pepe up here. I was trying to give him a chance to not be a fool, and he was a fool. So I don't discriminate against any voices, Joe. You are always welcome.
Thank you. I always get your name wrong. Is it Nai?
Yes, it's Nye. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I think it's a shame. I have grandkids, third generation grandkids. They were sitting here listening to Clubhouse for the first time. And you should have seen their nonverbal, their comments. They're college kids. They're like, their comments were like, we are all blended. What are they talking about? That's kind of the whole end review of this conversation. And every time we go down this road, we are chipping away at the American society. And if that's what y'all want to do, we'll pay for it at the end of the day. Thank you, Nan.
Yeah, the society's dead. I mean, half the population of said society doesn't want the other one to have rights. The other one doesn't want the part of the society to exist. Like, if we wanted to split back into North and South and throw all the fucking retards like Keegan up in the North, go for it. As long as we're chilling out here, y'all can go ahead and destroy your fucking selves up there with your own policy and however else you want to run your dictatorship, and then we can be fine down.
XG, that's not helpful though. That's not, I get where you're coming from, and I agree with you. Like I said, if Keegan has grievances towards the ecosystem where he lives, any reasonable person in any stage of life would reasonably make an effort to adapt and survive or otherwise relocate to a place that is congruent and consistent with their survival values. Okay? So again, I mean, arguing all of this other bullshit all the which way under the sun, it's for attention. There's nothing that's going to be accomplished by you trying to change his view outside of the two options that he has. You either evolve or you dissolve into an ecosystem that's more congruent with your social values.
Well, I wanted to finish and say, I'm Irish, Potawatomi. You don't see the Potawatomi. My kids are Hawaiian Pacific. My grandkids are Black and Polish. Hoorah for America. When are we going to start embracing that? We can't go backwards. We just can't. Thank you.
Well, you're right. We can't go back. And Reddy, you got it. I just want to say to Joe B's point, you're right. We can't go backwards. But as long as we continue to evolve in spaces and places across the world where there is still hatred for other cultures, other groups of people based on how they look, their gender, their race, we're never going to be able to evolve past this, especially when we have a political system that is always going to use these our differences, to create further divide. And I agree that we as the people need to push back and mentally and spiritually kind of drive the conversation into another direction when we're having these conversations in spaces like this, whether it's in education, the medical field, politics. But I feel like there's always going to be that person, that entity, that organization, that policy that keeps its boot on the neck of those who are oppressed, whoever those people are in whatever group of society. And like JB likes to say, often some of y'all have heard JB say, if there's no Jews, there's no news, right? Well, I kind of apply that. If there's no blacks, you can't attack. If there's no whites, we got to find out what rhymes with that. They used to say, if it ain't white, it ain't right, right? So there's always going to be like these movements and conversations that use our differences to drive us, which Joe B, I hope you would agree, makes it challenging to evolve and move past the racism.
I got the cue next. No, wait, I got it. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Reddy. Go ahead, Reddy. You always got something smart to say. Go ahead.
Hold on. Reddy, I know Reddy, I did say Reddy got it. Let Reddy have it, but hold on. Let Joe B respond, because I did address her, and then Reddy, and then Adams. Go ahead, Joe B.
Well, what you're saying is true, but what's happened has happened, and we have to deal with it. And dealing with it, you can change policy. I'm telling you, I do it all the time for 35 states now and pushing. And my thing is education choice, that every kid should and every parent should be able to choose. I'm not taking it down that road, but to get involved, all you have to do is have an LLC, a small little nonprofit, and own it. Own your agenda, create a platform, and get busy. And yeah, this is healthy to talk about it, but you gotta get out there. Thank you, Nina. I appreciate you.
Of course, you're welcome. Thank you. Go ahead, Ray.
Man, I appreciate that. Hey, Joe, this is no disrespect to anybody in the room or nobody else. I'm playing devil's advocate, and I believe what I'm talking about to the max. So you said, I noticed when you came in the room, you spoke on how you're educated, or the college kids was listening in on the conversation there. And then that brought me back to think about how most people who go to college, who become lawyers, doctors, whatever you can name, all the professions, right? They still uphold what, pretty sure you already know, is implicit bias, which I feel like Egan is demonstrating. And all the other people who jump in the chat, it's implicit bias, man. You cannot tell a person what to do or how to do it or when to do it. You can't do it. And racist people do it all the time, whether they go to college or not. It's there in the workplace, anything you can imagine. So you can't look at people and say, hey, you guys need to just stop and chill and don't mix or don't be racist. You know what I mean? But every time we wake up in the morning and walk into society, we experience racism. You understand that? And this ain't about racism. I just wanted to touch on that point. And Keegan, man, implicit bias, bro. I think you should look that up, man, and look in the mirror.
Well, not a lot of kids are going to college anymore. It's so fucking expensive. So keep your eyes on and get involved with career tech. I'm sure every one of you on here has a job of some sort to be able to keep your internet on. And take that talent and get a CTE, a career tech certification, and build on it. There are so many options today, it's not even funny. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe B. Thank you, Ready Rock. Wait, is it Ready Rock? I want to call you Ready. It is Ready Rock. Okay, good. I don't want to make sure I wasn't seeing things. Any other speakers? Any other comments to the room?
Yes.
The topic. Go ahead, Al.
I just want to say, NY, you may recognize these set of buildings here. They have a very distinct architecture. Shout out to my former employer, the Irvine Company. Made millions for them. I will say this, Keegan. There is something to be said about master planning. And Donald Bren, the owner of this company, developed the concept of master planning coming from the Mission Viejo Company into the Irvine Company. I encourage you to look at that master planning model where you have, developments in suburbia with other developers in many different other states, including yours. I've looked up 5 of them since we've been on this stage, and I'm not going to actually say your state, but like I said, the door is always open. There's a different trajectory as far as where to grow sustainable life outside of, urban interferences that we can maybe agree somewhere in the middle as far as where your grievances lie. I feel like you should really explore greater opportunities. And you're also setting your kids up for a greater sense of generational wealth. So with that being said, it is what it is. We can agree to disagree. I'm still cool with Keegan. But at the end of the day, I just feel that the effort is misplaced in terms of trying to change the minds of individuals as opposed to making practical, mechanical decisions to change your said reality that's going to contribute to your overall goals. That's all I'm saying.
Y'all let Keegan have it today, boy. Keegan has bounced from the space. But listen, like I said earlier, I don't mind the Keegans coming into conversations like this. If you're new, if you just popped in the room, this is JB's house, Roger's house, JB's house. JB started this topic. He had to run, take care of some family stuff. Should certain words be socially acceptable? Why or why not? And of course, the center was on the N word. We had a lot of great speakers on the stage this morning. We've been going for a couple hours, right? Keegan, I don't mind the Keegans and the Pepes coming on the stages when we have these rooms. Whoever's hosting these spaces, because I like to listen to learn. I like to hear these perspectives to understand. I also think a lot of these people are performative, and they say a lot of shock value things to get a reaction. I personally try to do my best not to argue and spar with racists on this app. Because, as a black woman, especially a black Gen Xer, my spirit is just kind of evolving on some, futuristic next level shit. Arguing with racists is just so pedestrian to me. But I do enjoy listening to what is going on this app because it's so very strange. So on that note, if no one has anything else to say, I'm going to start closing the room down. Believe it or not, people, I am working in the background. I'm editing an interview, so I have to get back to work. But final thoughts, final submissions, if anybody wants to, final words. Otherwise, I'm going to go. Joe B, thank you. David, thank you. Dr. Adams, of course, thank you. Ready, Rock? Go ahead.
Oh, no, there's nobody. Oh, David, you there? I want to pose a question to him. A question that we never got answered this whole time. And that question was, why is it white people want to say N-word? What is it? Because I heard a lot of people make, extended arguments about, hey, they should do it because of this. And then when the question was posed, why should they say, or why would they want to say it, it never was answered. So can anybody answer that question?
Wait, Ready Rock, I was reading somebody's question in the chat, which I'll answer, but what was the question? Say it.
Remember we were speaking about, or you about why, I think Keegan and another gentleman was talking about how the N-word, well, why do we say it? Why do y'all say it? Y'all was giving the history and all that. And I heard Brittany, I think, who was asking the question is, why is it that you want to say it so bad? And that's an answer I want to hear. And I was wondering if anybody can answer that question, white in particular.
Yeah, well, Keegan's gone, so he can't answer, and I don't recall if he answered it while he was in the room. That definitely is someone definitely on that side, and by I say that side, some of these white boys that open up these rooms and host these type of conversations need to call their fellow whites to task and ask them, that's the room I'd like to sit in and listen. Why do y'all want to use the word? And when I say y'all, I'm not saying all whites, because I know not all whites want to use the word. But those who come up on these clubhouse streets and argue and advocate for using the word, why? I know Nicole asked Keegan a couple times. I just don't remember what his answer was, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah, he never answered it, but it's cool.
Hold on, I am liberal says in the chat. I am liberal. Brittany wasn't performative, ? Neither did you agree with what she says. I'll say, Brittany's back. I'm not going to put words in Brittany's mouth. I know some people on the chat were saying Brittany hates white people. I don't know Brittany personally, so I'm going to sit on the stage and say Brittany hates whites. So if you're one of the people, and by I'm saying in general, if you are one of the people in the chat that after listening to her submission, you have concluded that she hates whites, and I am liberal, if you're asking me that point, no, I don't hate whites. I don't, y'all, some of y'all have been in some of these spaces with me when we've had these discussions. Y'all know that I've been kind of ostracized by my community for having black fatigue myself, right? I get pushed back for expressing my levels of black fatigue. And the black community, especially on this app, they don't like when I, as a member of the black community, publicly talk about having black fatigue. So I'm not a defender of Keegan. I'm not a defender of the Pepes of the world, right? I said I like to listen and learn, just like I listened to Brittany today and learned about her perspective of white folks. But no, if you're asking me, am I hateful towards whites? Do I think whites are evil and demonic? I think that historically, our white ancestors and forefathers have created a very demonic system of governing around the world. We call it global colonization, global white supremacy, which a lot of folks claim do not exist because they're in denial or they like to gaslight. But do I think that this global system of white supremacy and oppression that all white people uphold it and look down at no, let me just say uphold it, no. Right? Do I think that all white people are white supremacists and want to keep black people down? No. So that's the best way I can answer that question. And I am liberal. I know you've been in these spaces with me before. I think you know that about me by now, sir or madam. I don't know if you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. But I think by now I think I've made myself clear about how I feel about these things. Yes, go ahead, Reddy.
Quick question for you. You said, do you think all? Of course not. What's the percentage you at, though, of white people?
I don't even know that I can put a percentage. I think that, because my thing is, it comes down to policy. How is our community oppressed? What oppresses us? That's the questions we have to sit down and ask. How are we oppressed, and what oppresses us? And the number one thing on my list is policy, and policy starts with the people we vote for, the people who are in office, the government, right? And so do I feel like my white neighbor, for instance, or the white folks who live down the block have a hand in oppressing me? Absolutely not. It all comes down to policy, right? Like, let me give you an example. A couple weeks ago, I had jokingly said, but I wasn't really joking, that I said to the room, it was one of these healthy debate spaces. I said, have y'all ever been in a white neighborhood? Have you ever driven around white neighborhoods and seen how they, you see how they have better stores, a vast array of food options. There's a Starbucks on every corner. Shit that I like. I was only partially joking. A black voice on the stage came off the mic and said, well, that has to do with the politicians and the policy. And that's exactly my point, right? Because I was comparing it to some of the urban communities, some of the black communities, where, and as we know, depending on where you live, there's a liquor store in every corner, a hair weave shop on every corner, fast food chains, the variety is just not the same. And you're talking to someone who has lived between Illinois and California, from the most urban of urban communities to the richest of richest neighborhoods. So I'm speaking on lived experience. So I can't put a percentage on that, Reddy, because my thing is I approach it from a political lens. Who are the people that we're voting for, right? And what policies do they keep in place that keep black people so-called oppressed? That's the best way I can answer.
Wow, Queen Nee, you speak really well. And you're very informative and you're super educated, and I'm just very proud of you, and I already know you walk in your power. I still have a lot to work on because I'm still trying my best to just perfect my craft around them on how to deal with them, because like when it does come to white people, I am easily startled, but they are too, because it's to the point where I could just walk in the room and then they're annoyed because I'm just there. Me, vice versa. I'm walking in the room and I don't even see them there. Like, I don't even identify them. I don't even look at them in their eyes. I don't even, like, this, and I'm pertaining to when I'm working. I keep my eyes focused on my job, where I'm going, what department I'm going to work in for the day, because I'm a nurse. And I do just that, but it just seems that the other party comes to work to watch what other people are doing instead of doing their job. And unless their job is to watch me, I'm okay with being watched. I don't care. I'm doing everything I need to do. I've been doing nursing for 20 years. So my job speaks for itself. So there's no reason for me to communicate with them anyway. And, it's just hurtful. It hurts. It hurts working in spaces with them. Not all of them are like that. I've built, friends up with them, not like going out or having drinks, but I do have coworkers that I talk to that are white, but they don't mess with me. They're very respectable. Do I hate white people? No, I don't. I don't hate anyone. I'm just sick of the privilege. I'm sick of the condescending attitudes. I'm tired of the I'm better than you type, just walking in the room like this is their world. I'm tired of the the Karens watching me, just because I'm black, they think I'm going to do something or I might steal. Overall, I'm just tired of being treated less than because of my skin color. I haven't done anything to anyone that is white, never in my life. And I don't understand why they're like this.
Hey, can I just say this real quick?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Brady Rock.
Hey, Brittany, I don't know you, you don't know me, I don't know where you're from, but I want you to know when you lay your head down that night, there are tens of thousands that feel the same way that you feel, so don't ever feel alone in your feelings and how you feel when you walk into these places, because I feel the exact same. Everything you said I can relate to. Just know that, all right?
I appreciate that, King, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm not playing victim. No one white has ever done anything to me, but it's just they make me uncomfortable. Just like if I could be in, like if I'm in the room and one walk in, I don't know. It's like I instantly just... And then they're it just feels awkward. Like, I don't know why we can't even have conversations with each other. Why are they such gatekeepers? Why is everything so quiet and personal? But like I said, not all of them are like this, but I think they're all being raised up the same. And they're being raised a certain way where it goes out there with them, that raising. It goes out there with them, and then they talk about African American people and say, oh, they poor, they just want to do food stamps, they just want to be on government assistance. But a lot of African American people are screaming out for help. A lot of African American people, they go and apply for these jobs, they get them, they earn them because of their degrees, and then they're being fired by these white collared white people because white people are just mean. I live in a state where now, I say in Arizona, this is a right to work state, so they can walk you off the job as they please. But it's done got out of hand because it's like to the point where now they actually enjoy saying, well, oh, you worked about 3 or 4 days, it's not going to work out, we just feel it's not a good fit for you. And you've did everything to they beck and call, ran behind them like a little dog. What else can I do, Sir Paul? I'll even mop the floor. I just want my job. And they it's like I don't know, it's like they get some kind of good feeling on just firing a black person, African American person, and making sure that they go back to being broke and poor. But then it's the same white collar white people that always say we don't want to work, we lazy, but we do want to work. We do want these jobs. We're getting these jobs, and you guys are firing us within a week and just saying, oh, fuck them, they're black and we don't want their face around here. And because what they're doing is they want the face of a lot of these big hospitals and these jobs. They only want white faces. That's why I said all of that, people are tripping off the N-word. We got bigger things to focus on. They're not allowing us to keep our jobs. They're firing us.
Let me just say,
and then they want to talk about people and say we're on food stamps and government assistance, but we can barely keep a job for 30, 40 plus years and accumulate all the stuff that they've accumulated up because they're putting a stop to it. They don't want us on the jobs, and we're not even doing nothing. So a lot of our up-and-coming kids that are coming up and getting these degrees, I'm afraid for my kids because they're going to be fired for their skin color.
Now, hold on. You know what? Oh, Lord Jesus. I'm not trying to be funny when I say this. I'm not. Because I want to let that sister submission breathe. I know some of y'all in the chats are like, you have your response to what Brittany is saying. Just wanted to give that sister a chance to get her to speak, and Reddy came off and said he relates, and I know a lot of black folks relate to what she's saying. But I'm sitting here listening to this, and I know that this is the reality for a lot of black folks, but I'm like, man, I wish my brothers and sisters I wish we could all kind of experience some of the same journey. As far as work, right? Because, listen, I worked in LA for about 20 years, specifically in the film and TV industry. And I'm not saying that the white folks that I worked around were perfect. I'm not saying that they were United Colors of Benetton, happy-go-lucky, right? shiny, happy people. But I don't have this racial scarring that it sounds like my sister Brittany has. Reddy Rock said he can relate. And the whole time this sister was speaking, I was thinking to myself, man, I wish my brothers and sisters could work around some folks on, and I'm not trying to be funny, so this comes out very delicately, some white folks on cocaine, because I worked around these white folks for 20 years in LA. Most all of them were high on something, and they were the coolest people, right? All of the jobs that I've had, I've worked from studio to studio to studio. And guys, I don't want to lose my black card. I'm not trying to lose my black card. It goes back to someone in the chat asking me, do I agree with Brittany's point of view? White folks opened the doors for me, okay? Black folks did too. But when I first moved from Chicago to LA, it was white folks who, from one studio job, went to the next studio job. Some of y'all have heard me say the first person I worked for was Miramax, Quentin Tarantino, Weinstein Brothers. So my experience in the professional world, and I'll land, in the professional world dealing with whites, has not been as scarring as it has been. I'm listening to your Brittany speak, and it's breaking my heart. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, I wish my brothers and sisters could work around some white folks. Maybe do they need to be coked up? Do they need to have a liquid lunch, right? Go take a few shots of whiskey during lunch and come back, and does that take the edge off? And don't get me wrong, I've worked around some white folks with the racial microaggressions. Like I said earlier, I had to file 2 lawsuits as it relates to this nonsense. But the way Brittany talks, sis, I feel like I should be scared of the professional industry for Black Americans.
It's bad. It is so bad.
I'll ask a question as I land. Do you think with Trump, his deportation efforts, right? I'm seeing Black people at construction sites and fast food restaurants, in the retail stores. They're claiming that with the immigration crackdown, jobs are opening up for Black folks. You think it's going to get better, Brittany, with the immigration crackdown?
I think it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. A lot of Black people are going to suffer more, and I'm scared. And see, me, I'm the type of person, I always got to keep up with the economy no matter what I do. So right now, I'm working on my nurse practitioner. I've been having like I said, I've been an RN for almost 20-something years. I make good money. I don't need to go into that, but it's going to get worse, So all I know is that right now, a lot of African American people are up against attack, and it's looking bad because we as a culture are not even getting along. We hate each other, so that make it worse for them to even treat us good on the job. I had a girl come in my...
Brittany, wait, sis, I have to just say this, and you have the mic. You have it right back. I'm not one to interrupt anyone, but you just said something that triggered me, and I have to call this out, Brittany. The jobs that I've had over the course of my life, when I'm one of a handful of Black folks in the office, do you know who ignores me, who doesn't want to speak to me? The other Black folks, to your point. It's not the white folks that I have a problem with the office. It's the Black folks. You want to know why? Because they have something to prove to the white people. They always have this attitude of I'm not like them Blacks, or I'm not like them ninjas. You know what I'm saying? So I got to prove to the others that I'm not like them ninjas by removing myself from the presence of the other Blacks in the office, because you don't know what them Blacks is like, and I don't want folks to think I'm like them DEM Blacks, right? So it's very interesting how we navigate the offices. Some of us experience the racial aggressions from our own people. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Wow. Okay. So, I have always experienced the other way. So, I've always got along with my sisters on the job and my brother's job, and we've always had our back, because that's what, was happening. Our backs would be up against the wall, and we'd be getting worked like runaway slaves, and, all the other race would be coming in, getting coffee, doing what they want to do, and in the office talking and chatting, gossiping about who got rolled up or this, that. But we all out here, we working hard, and we just feel like that they should be working too. It's a time and a place to address certain situations, and when state is in the building or things like that is going on, we need
our bigwigs to come out the office and help instead of being in the office conjuring a report on who they about to fire next. Like, I just feel like white people look for trouble in any and everything, even their own people. They treat their own people like crap. They won't even give $1 to their own people. You know, like, you know, people that are like have, you know, signs and stuff on the corner, you know, and those white people who are on meth and on those corners, they look for black people to help. But then those same white people who we're helping, they want to try to play white when it's time to play white. Like, it's just a game, and I'm just tired of all the white games that white people play. You know, they try to say that black people need to move on from slavery. Black people this, black people this, black people are ghetto, black people come out in pajamas and bonnets. But they're literally bottom of the barrel. White people, to me, most of them are bottom of the barrel. And a lot of them, they don't even have degrees. And they're able to just get a job because of word of mouth. And in my opinion, too, you know, a lot of white people are stupid. They're dumb, you know. They're dumb. But they get these jobs because of their parents or someone they know. And I'm not a Debbie Downer. I'm just sick of white people going around thinking that it's their world and they want power. I'm tired of the stuff that they're doing to people. I'm over it.
For the record, white folks in the room, I definitely don't think you're dumb, because after all, y'all gave us Doctor Who, and some of you know how I feel about Doctor Who. One of the best shows ever, followed by The X-Files, Breaking Bad. But I digress. Brittany, girl, I'm glad you, thank you for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, I know some of y'all are like, JB wouldn't allow her to speak this way in the space. Casey says Doctor Who is fantastic. Absolutely. David Tennant is my favorite. And what's that HBO show that I love, thanks to the good white people who gave us that good white writing on HBO, that HBO show about the family? Not Severance is on Apple. Succession. Oh my God. So yeah, Brittany, no, tap into some of this good white TV, these good white dramas. These white folks are giving us entertainment. Or they're on social media apps, or they're entertaining us on the TV apps.
You know, Miss Nee, I don't know. Like, I try not to even, you know, and I'm still nice. Like, even when I go out in public with them, I'm still nice. You know, I'll hold the door for them. Like, I'm the one that don't even expect to be like this. Now, don't go digging me up now. But they don't even know that I feel like this because how I am with them. I'm literally like, hey, you know, I will, you know, because they like me. Like, they draw to me because I'm not like the other black folks or niggas that they say. But in my mind, I know they fake. Just like that song. They smile in your face all the time. They just want to take your place. They backstab us. Backstab us.
Wow. So you're new to my space, and this is not my space, but when I say space, I mean the world of Nye. I was going to say, Nye can be a little jaded sometimes and say things that are inappropriate. I have to police myself and check myself, especially around those who I don't know, because a lot of people don't know my sense of humor. So I was going to say something it was a really bad joke. So I'm not going to even go there with you, Brittany, until you get to know me a little bit more. You'll know, oh, that's Nye being crazy. So I'm just talking myself down from the ledge, like, Nye, talk it out loud so that people know that you want to say something fucked up as a joke, but don't say it, because Brittany will not get the joke. But anyway, there's no offense to you, Brittany, right? It's a really crass joke. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I said I was going to shut the room down. If there are no final thoughts, I really appreciate everybody who came up to speak today. JB will probably be opening up later, right? Roger was here moments ago. I didn't get a moment to acknowledge him, but shout out to Roger. Roger, this is his house, Health Debates. He also has In the Muff. So if you're not a member of In the Muff, go ahead and look up that. Somebody on the stage, I think it was Joe B, asked about, it was Nicole asked about the America Party. JB has hosted some spaces about the America Party, Elon Musk. Roger/Mojo has also talked about it. So he started a club here called the America Party, I guess, to host those conversations. So if that's something you're into, go ahead and join that house. And of course, if you're new to the space, JB opened up this room today. He just left me kind of in charge for a hot minute. I mostly navigate in the entertainment rooms. I work in the entertainment business. On Saturdays, I host an entertainment room. We talk about pop culture, conspiracy theories, UFO abductions, and politics. So my house is called Press Hollywood. If you want to come into a space where you really don't have to think, you can just talk crap. And I hate to admit this, don't burn down my Starbucks, but every once in a while, we'll drop the N-word. I mean, I can't help it. Paul Mooney, the late great comedian Paul Mooney, said he says the N-word multiple times a day. It keeps his teeth white. Sometimes when I'm on this app, it brings out my inner ratchet, my inner hood rat. Please know that I don't use the N-word in my everyday life, but when I am on this app, I tend to be kind of shock jockey. Shout out to Howard Stern. So if you hear me say some fucked up shit, just hit me up. Like, now did you mean it when you said XYZ? By the way, Brittany, question, were you the one who said the term black, you find the term black as offensive as the N-word?
Yeah, a little bit I do, because I don't want anyone saying, look at that black kid. Like, that's
well,
mean.
If I called somebody, I was thinking about this earlier, and since I'm not trying to be funny, it just goes back to my jaded personality. When you said that earlier, I was like, what? Because I don't mind being called black. But in your opinion, miss, if I call somebody a black-ass booty scratcher, that's more offensive than calling them the N-word.
You call somebody that and see if they don't probably try to jump up, because it sounds disrespectful, because for one, they might not be as black as you stating that they are, and for two, the second thing that came with it. So I would take offense if somebody said, look at that black girl. Now, I am a black lady, if that's what you want to say, but I'm African American and I'm not black. If you can see in the PTR, I'm more brown skin, like complexion, caramel. So, I mean, to call anyone black instead of saying African American, I just feel like that's disrespectful and that's rude. Because white people don't even like being called white. That's why they get tans, because they don't really want to be white. Although I love being black, so it don't offend me like that, but it's like, I'm African American. Why not just state that, or just say, oh, those African Americans. I think it's just the way that they use it, because some white people will be like, that black girl, and that's just rude, because not everybody is just, we're all different shades. We're not all black, and then they get real disrespectful with the African women who are really black. Now, they get sad too, because some of those African American women, those African women that are really black, they take offense because they might feel some type of way or insecure about their black skin, which that black skin is beautiful. African women's, that black skin, their blackness is beautiful. And I just feel like white people has made black people feel so ashamed of their skin color, and it has gotten out of control on how they have made the black skin. I mean, how they just make it seem like they're just pretty. I don't think white people are attractive like that. Like, I really don't. And I think that's another reason why I have issues, about how they act, like when they're being Karens, or how the guy earlier was saying something about the music in the park. My thing about it is they can't talk about nothing. The only thing white people got is money, some of them. That's it. Y'all have nothing else. I think they're super pale looking. Not all white people are cute to me. Some of them are cute, and some of the, I'm just going to leave it at that. Just some of them are cute. So I don't know where this is going as far as white people thinking that they're all that. But I don't know if it's the BBLs that hit their brain because they got ass now. I don't know what it is, that pertains to the women. But the men, they be chilling. It just be them women that don't really like us. And I think it's because they want bigger dicks. And I mean, that's fine if that's what they want. They're grown. They can choose that. But don't disrespect a black woman because you want bigger dick and, you're being rude to me. And I don't mind. You can have a black guy if that's what you want. But don't try to act as if he doesn't want me because I'm black and he wants you just because you're white. That's not it. He probably just wants you for your money.
Okay, a couple things. Thank you, Brittany. I'm going to turn it over to Sean really quickly. Hold on. A couple things. Wait, somebody said something in the chat I don't want to address. Yeah, some folks will agree with you, Brittany, on one point. I Am Liberal just pointed it out. Some folks on both sides, black and white, will agree that white liberal women are problematic. We've unpacked this. Not that you said white liberal women, but a lot of folks would agree because you said white women, that white liberal women specifically are problematic. But I wanted to go back to something you said moments ago, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sean B. really quickly. The term white people, you're so right. I read an article a couple of years ago, wasn't that long ago, maybe like a year or two. A liberal-leaning, leftist-leaning publication did a whole write-up about how using the phrase white people is racist. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what word are you supposed to use to describe them, right? So a couple weeks ago, I was hosting a space here in my room, and I was recalling an incident from high school. Now, I went to a predominantly all-white Catholic school. I'm not Catholic, but that's a whole other story, how I ended up at a white Catholic school for another time. And so I was sharing a story about how, the social differences at the school at the time, where if the white boys did something wild and crazy off campus, or, on the weekend, like if their parents went out of town and they threw keggers at the house, the school would hear about it come Monday morning, those white boys would get like a slap on the wrist, maybe a detention. But if the black boys did it, and weren't that many of them, the punishment was harsher. So that's exactly how I'm telling the story. I just said white boys, black boys, and I'm using boys as an adequate descriptor, I think, because we're minors at the time. We're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. This white dude on this app, who I thought I was cool with, he was the only person on this app who I could talk about stray cats with, right? He comes in the room, accuses me of being racist because I said white boys. Was ready to report the room. And I said, wait, how is saying white boys racist? White folks listening in this space right now, is that where we are? Y'all have decided that the term white boys or white men or white people or white women, that's racist now? That's insanity. Sean B., you...
Hey, I knew you were trying to close the room up soon here, but I just wanted to actually just give you some flowers today because I've been coming back into healthy debates a lot more, and I really definitely appreciate your voice and your moderatorship and how you've been in the room for real. So I really just came up to give flowers. I think what you're saying kind of rings true, and I'll just leave it at this. I felt like if you were to, I always say, like, think about what you're saying, and if it were to be reversed and was coming from a different person's mouth, whether they're a different color, a different religion, and how that would feel to you. And if you were to do that, like, does that sound different? Does that sound worse? Just kind of feel that way, because I don't feel like, it depends maybe. If you live in a certain area, you might be feeling a certain way. That's why I was asking in chat to Brittany, specifically, some people are trying to answer for her, but where she lives, and that's happening. I'm sorry, because that sucks if that's the way you feel, because I don't feel that way where I live. And I hope that you should be respected and appreciated no matter who the person is and no matter what their color is, and you shouldn't feel that way about white people or any other color person. So I'm sorry that you've been experiencing it. That's me, and I rest my plane. But thank you again for doing such a great job on stage, and I appreciate you, Brittany, for sharing how you feel about this.
Wait, hold on, Brittany. Hold on. You got it. I'm going to give it to you. I just have to say something really quick. Thank you, Sean. And I am liberal in the chat says, do you think black boys is racist if whites say it? There's your answer. But I guess the question again comes back. If you're trying to describe a black boy, how would you describe him? If you're saying a kid got hit, a truck hit a kid at the stop sign, and the police are like, what do you look like? Oh, it's a black boy. Is that racist? Like, I don't think so. Like, if he's a boy and he's black, if he's a boy and he's Mexican, if he's a boy and he's white, if he's boy and he's Asian, if you're like Asian boy, white man, I guess I don't understand how it's racist if you're not using it to be hateful. But go ahead. I hope the white folks didn't snatch up Brittany. Let us pray for Brittany.
I'm right here.
She's back. Okay, go ahead, sis.
So thank you, Miss Nee. I'm sorry I cut you off. I was just needing to get in there. But Sean B., I just want to say thank you so much for coming up here and not like just judging me and, because I feel like I need a hug. Like, I've experienced a lot of racism in my life. Like, I'm 39 years old, so I would say during the time of me first getting my nursing degree back in 2003 or something, it's been so long. But I've experienced a lot. Like, I would cry. It was days I would cry. Go in the bathroom and cry. because I knew I needed my job. And I feel like nobody should have to feel that way on their job, because this is why people don't want to work. This is why it's hard for people to get up and go to work, because it's not because of the work, it's because of the people they work with, you know. And a lot of people are just hard to work, difficult to work with and to, and they give you a hard time to adjust to them. And it's been going on for almost 20 years. I've had to deal with it. I've cried many a time of being bullied on my job, and good jobs at that, because like I said, when you getting paid $49 and $50 an hour, you gotta submit. You gotta be quiet. You gotta step on your mouth. You know, you gotta hold your tongue. You know, you gotta cry in the car like Craig did, or I'm off for a couple of days, guys, so I'm enjoying this conversation. But it's been sad. It's been rough for me. So I thank you for coming up here and not beating me up and beating on me, and because no one knows what I've been through. I've been really not blackballed, but like, it's been to the point where it's been bad, you know. But I always handled it good. I've never got fired. Either I will put my 2 weeks in, or, you know, I can't work in environments like that, you know. And I see it firsthand. You know, white people are doing some shady stuff at these jobs.
And that's why I wanted to give you space to speak, sis. That's why I wanted to give you space to speak, because my experience with white folks, and I know, you know, like I said earlier, I know some people will come in the room or probably in the chat, and you're probably like, JB wouldn't have allowed her to speak that long or to say the things that she was saying. And I know the optics might be maybe Nai's letting her say these things because she agrees. No, because my experience on the job, my professional career, and I've been working since I'm 14 years old. I'm in my 40s now, Generation X. I'm not saying I have not experienced microaggressions with white folks or even racism, but it's been so minute, and I wouldn't dare say that my experience reflects the broader experience of white people. That's why black folks. That's why I wanted to hear Brittany's perspective, because it's the complete opposite of my perspective in the professional world, oftentimes being the one and only, if not a handful, of black folks in the office, right? So that's why I was listening to her talk, and just my heart is breaking. It's like, man, y'all got it really bad out here with these white folks. This shit is...
And there's nothing I can do. All I can do is go to work my 12 hours, and go. Literally. When you got white people running in the office, making complaints about you on every little turn or twist you make on your job, that's uncomfortable. All you can do is turn your cheek. I can't go around beating up those people. I can't do nothing to them. I don't want to be in court. I don't want to be sued. So I mean, what do you want me to do? This is my feelings. These are my feelings, and they're valid. If I say that racism is huge on the job, especially in these hospitals, these nursing homes, it's there. These are the new KKKs on the jobs. These police officers that has these tattoos and getting these badges, these are just KKK members behind these badges, KKK members behind these nursing scrubs. I see the most shadiest and dirtiest stuff that white people do, but all I can do is turn my cheek, because nothing ever happens to them.
Question: are they doing it to other people too, or is it just you, or you because of your color specifically? Do you really feel like it's specifically to you? Because I have friends that are nurses here in California, and they just feel like they're getting reamed a new one all the time, and they're all different colors. And when I say that, I mean it, because the superiors in the medical field are real battle axes. I mean, the nursing field is not easy. You can have some supervisors pieces of shit. You know what I mean?
This is where
Is it all the hospitals? Is it when you're in?
This is where I've experienced this during my 20 years of nursing. I've experienced all of this, even getting my nursing degree, coming out, being a baby nurse, you know, being an experienced nurse. Like, you go through it. They're jealous, they're envious, because for one, already, you know, have this degree. You know, so that causes them to think, oh, she's black, she's still, you know, even teachers, I had to go up against, you know, even them, you know, failing me and things like that.
Thank God I don't have to go through any of that anymore. But I'm just saying this to say it's big in the hospitals. It's super big. Everything is like a clique. Black people are where they at. Africans is where they at. Everybody is in a section. Hispanics is where they at. And I don't like that. Like, why is it so divided? Like, people speak. You speak. You're going to speak to your coworker that's Hispanic. You're going to speak to your coworker that's white. Your coworker that's African. But when it's time to go your separate way at work and you're doing your job, everybody is clicked up. And it's too cliquish, and we're all adults here. You know, why are we still going through that in 2025 where everybody's just where they're at on the job? Everybody's all clicked up. It's all cliquish. Whites are with whites, blacks are with blacks, Africans are with Africans, Spanish people, Asian people. Like, why is everybody so apart instead of being a whole? Like, I don't get it. It's not me. It's how the world is doing black people, actually. I don't know. I can't, I'm over it. I'm frustrated about how this world is, guys. I'm not trying to project anything on any individual, any personal people. It's just, we know what's going on. We know that racism is here. They think that black people are at the bottom of the barrel. White people feel like they're more superior. We know what's going on. We see it. It's here. It's not going anywhere. We wish it was, but it's horrible. I feel uncomfortable always.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am so sorry that we're going through this. And by we, I'm saying black folks, because as Ray Rock, I saw his comment in the chat that a lot of black folks feel this way. And Ray Rock, let me be clear to you and others in the room. I want to make it clear that I'm 100% aware of that. I know I just said that I'm listening to Brittany's submission is an eye-opener for me, but I don't want to make it sound like I'm a new booty to this, because obviously I've had parents and grandparents who have worked and have expressed their same grievances dealing with racism on the job. You know, we know this has been going on since the black folks were freed, right? So I'm not going to give any pushback. You know, my motto, ladies and gentlemen, is to listen, to learn. And Brittany, I thank you for that share. And I don't know if there's some white folks in here who learned anything from Brittany today. If you could take anything away from what she submitted, if you are kind of that micro-aggressive energy on the job, and if you're black, because I know we got some anti-black folks that don't like black folks, as I just mentioned moments ago, right? Let's do better on the job. Let's just do better, because as you see, your microaggressions, your subtle racism, or your overt racism, it doesn't go unnoticed. Folks notice it, and then we gather in spaces like this and chat about it. Brittany, if I could say anything in part, it's just, sis, I wish you, and again, Nye's not trying to be funny here, I just wish you could find that one good white person on the job who gets it, because there's always that hella extra white liberal who gets it. They get the black struggle, they get the black grievances, and they want to treat a black person to lunch where they can talk shit about white people over the lunch break. Sis, I pray that the Lord sends you one of them good, generous white folks, those good, generous, liberal whites, who's like, sis, what's wrong? You're not smiling. Let me treat you to Chipotle. Where you like to eat? Red Lobster, they got them seafood boils. Let's go get a seafood boil and talk about the man. Every job has that white person. You got to find them. It might be the white girl with the funny haircut. Look for her, because no doubt she's got some black kids. That's the one you want to bond with. And I'm not even trying to be funny. You just have to learn how to use the white folks to infiltrate. White folks know, because they got that one black friend who infiltrates. Some of y'all will get it in the morning. Okay, that's it. We're going to shut the room down. Until next time, peace and blessings, everyone. And in the words of Dr. Frankenfruiter from Rocky Horror Picture Show, don't dream it, be it. Brittany, did you have some last words? I see you came off mic.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I know that JD wouldn't have me speaking like this on his stage, and I just want to apologize to JD and you and, you know, all of his followers. But I feel like something needs to be bigger. Like, we need to talk about this more, because this is why a lot of us African American people don't want to work. Like, I'm not saying I'm not going to get up and go to work tomorrow, but this is a big reason why. This is why. And then, you know,
It's very scary because our kids are scared. Even my daughter sees it. She filled out an application with Chick-fil-A, and it's predominantly Mexicans, and she didn't get the job. And then she got hired at a group home, though, because she was black, so she can fight off the white kids. Not even white people are wanting to work with their own bad white kids that they're raising. It's just weird. I don't get it, and I'm just tired of everything being separated and segregated. That's it. I'm tired of everything being a race thing. My daughter had to come to me, Mom, why do I have to put my race on there? Why do they have to know my race? Is this necessary? It's just getting to be annoying.
Well, let me say this in closing. Everyone in the room listening, Brittany, for anybody listening now and beyond, for those who have grievances with our coworkers because of their race, y'all, we need to learn how to manage our energy and our spirits when we're in these spaces, okay, and be grateful that we can look to our left and look to our right and see a human, because soon we're going to be replaced by robots. And then and only then, y'all will be looking for the white folks or the black folks, everybody that y'all don't want to work around and live around, when you're replaced by
So
robots.
someone said I was going to get stabbed, knee, in the comments. I'm not understanding what's going on.
Wait, hold on. Who said that? Well, we don't do violence. I didn't see it. Let me go back. We'll stab you. Are you talking about, I am liberal? You have it wrong. Conservatives listen. If you go to a liberal, they stab you. Is that comment? I don't know that that's addressed to you. I think liberal is referring to liberals. And as it relates to political discourse, where liberals tend to get, the fringe liberals tend to get really fanatic and violent if you don't go along with the get along and agree with their political ideology, where some might say conservatives, you can have an open, honest dialogue with conservatives without them turning violent. You may not agree with everything that's being said, but they won't dox and harass you and cancel culture you and scratch and burn your Tesla, and pee in your Starbucks cup. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't think he was, I'm pretty sure I am liberal was not referring to you. But I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's how I'm interpreting that comment. Yeah, no death. We don't promote death in space. And that's it. So yeah, Brittany, thank you. And this is what happens when JB leaves Nye to moderate. Everybody has a voice. So on that note, I'm going to close the room. Y'all have a good day.
Those Pharisees didn't believe. They didn't believe in Christ. The same way, when we read out the book of Isaiah today, the Christians don't believe that. That's the Old Testament. What are y'all doing? What keep reading?
Verse 22. And all bear him witness and wonder at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And
don't they wonder at the words that we read? I'll read it. It's the same Bible that y'all got. Go ahead.
And they said, is this not Joseph's son?
So that's all I'm really trying to say. I think that consistent with the fact that you formulated reasons and thought very deeply about a lot of these things, and that's why you've come to the conclusions you've come to, you, as well as everybody else, including especially me, have been influenced to some degree. It doesn't even mean your views are wrong. It just means that there's influence. That's all. I think if you take it like that, there's nothing to worry about. I care very deeply about the ways to which my views are influenced in these ways, and to a certain extent, it's kind of like you can't eliminate every influence, but you could maybe do things to maybe check your own biases. And a lot of times I find out that I'll form an initial opinion about something that I just heard of. I'll look into it, and then my opinion will shift dramatically because I've now been informed in a way that I wasn't initially informed.
It's been updated.
And I really wish most of us engaged in that way. And I'm not perfect, by the way. Sometimes I have knee-jerk reactions,
really?
And then I talk shit, and then I find out all after the fact, like, oh shit, I was wrong about that. But I try to not do that. I try to be like reserved with my opinions when I first come across something. Like, is this another example of that thing I don't like? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of did that today with this discourse on, like, Joe Reed and Jim Acosta, where we'd be like, yeah, is Trump good? I steal the 2026 election. I'm like, what? Like, the audacity of the question. Like, aren't you liberals like big on not questioning elections? Like, and then I kind of looked into it more, and I felt like, all right, there's some validity to worry about some of the stuff Trump's doing, which I haven't introduced in the room yet. But to just go on and just presume, like, yeah, he's going to be like Putin. Like, it's like, wow, okay, well, that's presumptuous. But whatever. I mean, I don't know. A lot of liberals act like they always know what's going on in the minds of the people they don't like. Like, they literally, they can read their minds. It's weird. But yeah.
I popped up to say that I was listening to Sarah. She made a lot of sense. But it's so interesting where she's arrived as a result of all of the back and forth that she talked about. I had the same back and forth as a Republican my whole life, who was not a supporter of Trump. I, too, am not super disappointed with them right now. I'm okay with them right now. But I would say that the back and forth and me shifting in my life has proven to me that I'm less emphatic about what I believe at any given moment in the course of my life going like now and forward, where it sounds like Sarah is still really hard, anti-left at this point, but she used to be anti-right, or at least anti-Trump. And so I think it's interesting that your examples, Sarah, are this back and forth of questioning things and seeing evidence that disproved what you thought originally. But instead of realizing that you were disproven and then deciding, I better be a little more careful about being so emphatic going forward on where I'm at today, based on the fact that I was completely wrong before, which I think is valid. I think it's a good thing to admit that we're wrong before, to be capable of that. I think it's the fault for somebody to just, vote one color straight up and down for decades on end when the parties obviously change a lot over time. But at the same time, if anything, like, I hear you saying that, I thought you couldn't win again because it was so fraudulent and in 2020, but then he won. And so it's almost like you completely disproved yourself, but you're still you're still propounding the narrative that there was likely fraud, or at least very possibly fraud. Whereas if I was you, after seeing how he won this time around, I would say it's highly unlikely there was fraud and that there was other mitigating circumstances that allowed the vote to shift both directions. And it appears that it goes back and forth. I mean, I'm 51. It's gone back and forth pretty much between parties, either every 4 or 8 years my entire lifetime. So this idea of calling out fraud, I think one thing I can say that I think was really, really bad of Trump to do was to question the system in general on purpose just because he lost, because he was a sore loser. I think that sucked, that he made it about the system instead of just accepting his own shortcomings when he lost. And I think he permanently damaged the integrity of the entire system that we depend on. And I don't think that either party is worse than any other party. They're both equally bad right now on two completely opposite ends of things, and they're pulling apart further and further. So those of us that are independent and who are engaging in critical thinking that allows us to change our opinions on these things and even change parties in some cases, you should be very hesitant to be so emphatic that you're sure of things right now based on what you see, because it's ultimately just an opinion and you're ultimately forming it in your own head. And probably the less you listen to other people, the worse the opinion is and the less accurate it is, rather than, deferring to maybe experts in politics that are finding the right people that you trust with the people that spend their life fully engaged in this as a profession, this appeal to authority, or this idea that appealing to authority is a fallacy, is another thing that's coming about because of all of this question that Trump's done. And the reality is, we question the appeal to authority on doctors and the appeal to authority this and at this point it's all just my opinion. I just look at my own shit, and if I believe it, I believe it. And now I'm right and everybody else is wrong. But the reality is that an appeal to an expert is not a fallacy. And if you want to appeal to an authority, well, why are they an authority? Are they an authority because they're an expert? Then that might not be a fallacy either. It's not automatically a fallacy just because we give the benefit of the doubt to somebody that puts 30,000 hours of study into something that we just choose to look up on the internet and decide for ourselves. Like, that's the part that I just question why you arrived where you arrived today, is because I hear you in other rooms too, and you're just really pretty hardcore. And about what you think now. And I'm kind of like, whoa, after that story, I was like, man, she's a lot more reasonable than I thought. So how did she stay so extreme right now? So I don't know.
I'm not extreme, Mike. I actually troll a lot. So let me just make that clear. I get upset. I hate wokeism. You know, I live in LA, so there is a reason why I'm more biased toward one side of the radicals. If I moved to a radical city on the right, I probably would be doing, you know, the same thing but in the opposite direction. So I live in LA. And I have problem with wokeism, and I have problem with cancel culture. So when people make stupid comments, I purposely, you know, troll them back. So no, I am not a radical person. If I say something that's radical, you can be sure it's 100% me trolling.
I hear you, and I like that, and I actually resonate with that. I grew up half my life in Seattle, half my life in Atlanta. I can tell you when I was in Seattle, I was a diehard Republican who hated the far left, and then I moved to Georgia, and now I'm more independent or leaning left. Again, opposite what all the people around me are. So in some ways, I resonate with your defiance on the West Coast, because I've seen the other side of it, and now I'm defiant in another way on this side end of things. So it seems like I share that with you. So thanks for explaining that.
You know, Mike, I also want to kind of give a nod to Sarah, because I totally feel that switch, at least in the first, like right after the switch is, you've done the switch, because you feel so betrayed by people that you trust, who've been telling you for years certain things, and they've been, you know, like, it turns out they've been lying, and so it's almost like this feeling of needing a revenge on them, and like wanting to own them in some way. I mean, it goes away after a while, but like in the first stage of the switch, I think it's very prevalent.
Oh, I think that makes sense. Like, yeah, you're almost hypercritical because you're so
like
disenfranchised.
Like former smoker who can't stand when people light a cigarette. They want to punch them in the face because they feel so resentful.
That makes sense. I learned a lot about you, Sarah, in what you described. I totally see you differently than I did before. You opened a lot on my mind about, I mean, when I listen to you talk now, I'm going to see it in a different lens, which I think is kind of interesting. Thanks.
All right, let me go ahead and read the stuff that grounds some of the claims and topics of discussion of the room. I'm trying not to read to people too much, because I know that can be boring. I'm going to quickly read this. This is posted on Yahoo, but it's actually originally from Fox News. So I want to be very clear about that. Yahoo like to repost things from other publications. They're usually pretty good at indicating when they do that, though. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew where this came from. The title of this is the thing at the top of the room. It says, ex-liberal cable stars Jim Costa, Joy Reid float 2026 midterm conspiracies about Trump. And it says here it's written by David Rutz. I don't know if David Rutz is from Fox News. I assume he is. It's a 4-minute read, so I'm going to try to read through it quickly. It's from Fox News originally, so it's going to have a right-leaning bias. That's why I'm trying to be transparent about where it comes from. You'll probably hear the bias in my reading. Okay. In less than a week, 2 former liberal cable news stars who were essentially discarded by their former networks this year floated conspiracy theories that President Donald Trump will rig next year's midterms. Ex-CNN anchor Jim Acosta and ex-MSNBC anchor Joy Reid, who were among the media's sharpest critics of Trump's refrain about not really losing the 2020 election, openly speculated next year's midterms won't be on the level. Quote, I don't think Trump intends to leave office, end quote, Reid told far-left writer Wajahat Ali on his Substack last week. Quote, I've been very clear about that. I think he intends to stay in office like Putin till he dies, end quote. Quote, whenever Democrats say to me, this is the reason we have to coalesce for 2026, I always add to the sentence, yeah, assuming we actually have free and fair elections, end quote. Reid also said in the segment. Quote, I think it's insane, honestly, to just assume we're going to have normal elections next year, end quote. So these are all Joy Reid's quotes. Reid disparaging the Republican, quote, big beautiful bill as bullshit bill, in line with Democratic National Committee talking points, cited House Republicans who supported Trump's legislation in spite of their reservations about it. She claimed their behavior suggested they weren't worried about being reelected next year. quote, the way Trump is behaving, he's not acting like somebody who worries that his party will lose power, or that even if somehow he had normal elections and Democrats took control of either the House or the Senate, he's not acting like somebody who's worried about the consequences of that, end quote, she said. Last Tuesday, Acosta wondered aloud to Democratic strategist James Carville if the 2026 midterms could be rigged by Trump or advisor Stephen Miller. Quote, in the short word, yes, end quote, Carville said, in response to Acosta repeating a viewer of his Substack show asking whether they believe Trump will end up, quote unquote, tampering with the midterm votes. Quote, in the longer words, very, end quote. Quote, I don't put anything past him, nothing, to try to call the election off, to do anything he can, end quote, Carville added. Quote, he can think of things like that, you know, we can't because we're not accustomed to thinking like that. We always assume there's going to be an election, end quote. This is scary shit, Acosta chimed at one point. Quote, President Trump has taken more action to restore the integrity of our elections on behalf of the American people than any president in modern history. According to the Democrats, voter fraud doesn't exist, but clearly they are already searching for pop-outs, preparing to lose big again in the midterms, end quote, a White House spokesperson told Fox News Digital in response. The far-left Reid was abruptly fired by MSNBC in February. In November 2022, she said only Democrats accept election results when they lose. Acosta quit CNN in January after he was asked to move from dayside program to a midnight show. He once mocked Trump's 2020 election claims as the big cry, end quote. Last month, former CNN host Don Lemon didn't dismiss comedian Kathy Griffin's suggestion that the 2024 election was also fixed. Quote, I'm Kathy Griffin, and I do not think Trump won in a free and fair election, end quote, Griffin said. Quote, I believe there was tampering. I don't know if it was the Elon Musk connection. I don't know if it was just a few good old boys in the South who don't do, what they accuse us of, end quote. Quote, you're not far off, end quote, Lemon said. Quote, I won't say that I disagree with you, but I'm an evidence person. I like to see the evidence. I think something was off, and especially when someone said, oh, we've got this, and you know how to do, you know that. How do we know we've got this? How do you know, or I don't need your vote, or anything like that? It's a little bit odd, end quote. In the past two midterms, the sitting president's party lost control of the House. In 2018, during Trump's first term, Democrats won back control of the chamber for the first time since the GOP Tea Party romp in 2010. In 2022, President Joe Biden's Democrats were widely seen as overperforming, but nevertheless lost control of the House to the GOP. And then the article ends. So one of the things that kind of brought this up for me were the comments that I just read a lot of quotes from, that I actually saw the video clips of, with Jim Acosta and Joy Reid. Until I read this just now, I didn't know about the Don Lemon stuff with Kathy Griffin. But yeah, these are like media pundits that are, and this is one of the reasons why a vocal minority of the left are so loud, is because they have a bunch of crazies in the media, or at least people tending towards the extreme left in the media. And so they say these bold things to get clicks and likes, and they serve their goals of drawing eyes and attention to things that are sensationalizable. That's how the news media works and operates. But they end up perpetuating disinformation and misinformation broadly, but a distorted picture of what's actually happening, which really doesn't help our discourse. And it dumps fuel on the fire to people who are already primed towards really, really far-fetched conspiracy theories in the first place. It's like some people just can't help themselves. So that was kind of like the basis of me rethinking about our discourse on election integrity. Because at the heart of it, when you strip it away from the sensationalized stuff and the conspiracy theory stuff, there are legitimate questions about what is the fairest way to run elections in a way that maximizes the opportunity for anybody who wants to vote exactly once, insofar as they're legally able to vote. And that's actually a really complicated question. Complicated, first of all, by the fact that we run thousands of separate elections at the same time when we do national elections. And each jurisdiction has a place, time, and manner authority so that they don't all look uniform. It's very decentralized, which partly is a good thing. But it creates an impediment to like monitoring everything with the utmost maximal transparency the entire time. And so there will always be things you could tug on and question for theory purposes, even though there really isn't anything there. But at the end of the day, I think the ultimate goal is we want people to trust that the processes work. We want to have some semblance of confidence that they work, that is within reason. It's not going to be perfect, but, it should be as good as we can. And then people who are on the fringe who question it anyway for politically motivated reasons, we have enough discretion to ignore those people. That's what I think the ultimate goal is, and I think it's becoming a more and more difficult goal to achieve. Throwing it back to the room, what do you guys think about the best way to accomplish maximal election integrity and maximal trust in our election processes?
I think it's just transparency. The more transparent, the better. I mean, I installed a security system in the brand new building that Fulton County used this last election cycle to count all the votes after the debacle of 2020, and all of the claims against it, where Fulton County was kind of the center of it all. And so they built this new center where they had all of the votes come in for all of Fulton County this year. And I actually personally installed 300 cameras around the area. And inside of it, they had all of the voting machines locked up behind a security fence, and they had cables on them in a certain way with flags and stuff that if they were open, that you'd be able to tell. And then they had a glass structure with desks in there where all the counting was set to take place. And then they had the facility allows the public to walk through and stand there and watch the counting taking place in this glass box. And so they went full on transparency on the recount in order to say that, listen, if you're concerned about it, come and watch the process. And I think that the more transparent it is, obviously, the safer it is for us. And if you don't go yourself to watch it, then, I think shame on you if you start convincing yourself this shit happened because you start reading stuff online or something. I think that they're making it really available for us to see what's happening in person, at least in the case of Clark County. And I think that that's the best thing they can do about it.
What do other people think?
Honestly, I think I really don't see any issues from the last election. So if you just kind of maintain like the openness and the ability for people to get out and vote and count correctly, I think it should be fine. We don't have like as many constraints as 2 elections ago with like COVID or even last election. So like I don't really see the issue. So like kind of similar to I think what you said earlier, kind of curious because it kind of seems like fear mongering to me.
Sorry, just be more specific. What sounds like fear mongering?
The ex-liberal people saying like they're not sure if there's going to be a free and fair election. Like, why do you say that? You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, Trump is doing a bunch of stuff you may not agree with right now. And it seems like there's no contention because they got both the House and the Senate. But to go from losing the presidential race to essentially saying that like free elections are done, like what basis do you really have to make such a brass statement?
Okay, you're talking about what Joy Reid, Jim Acosta were saying.
Exactly.
To be clear, they're not ex-liberals; they're ex-anchors on liberal TV cable networks. And they're still liberal. They're liberal as fuck. They're just no longer on MSNBC and CNN. I have another thing I want to read to steel man the other side. That it does make sense to be wary that the Trump administration is doing things onward that are likely to undermine election integrity. I don't think we should be so naive as to think that or presume that. Republicans generally, and Trump in particular, are pure and honest in all things having to do with elections. So I'm going to read you a left-leaning source next by a left-leaning organization called Democracy Docket. If you've heard of them before, you know what they are. For those who don't, they're basically a left-leaning, I want to say think tank. Maybe think tank is not the best descriptor, but something like a think tank. They basically draw attention from the perspective of liberals to issues that liberals care about. In order to kind of raise awareness and make people, remain vigilant against certain issues. And among the issues that they care about are election integrity issues and the threat that they think that Donald Trump in particular and his regime pose to it. So I want it to be fair in the room. And I don't want to dismiss liberal worries because here's the thing. My main thing is it's not all liberals that I disagree with. I think that the sensible liberals are the ones I get along with the best because I recognize that they're at least sensible people and they're willing to change their mind if they get presented with reasons to do so that are compelling from their point of view. It's the woke radicals I don't like on the left. So I don't want to paint the entire left as if they're all radical. It's actually a minority of the leftists that are radicals. It's the radicals I can't fucking stand. Those people are freaking crazy to me. But I do try to be fair to the more reasonable, sensible liberals because I actually respect them. And I probably would be one of them if it weren't for the fucking radicals. I don't like the radicals much. Sometimes I distance myself from like normal liberals. Because like you're too close to the people I don't like. Maybe that's a bias of mine. That's it. At the top of the room now is the Democracy Docket article. I'm going to read part of it to ground. I think Kirk made a great transition to do so. I want to ground, I think, the reasonable worries from the left in some evidence. A lot of this evidence is going to be cited for some of the, I think, more woke conspiracy theories. But all I'm trying to establish is it does make sense to, like, not give the Trump administration the benefit of the doubt in terms of regulating elections in the fairest way possible. One, because the way that they're doing it is uber partisan. And two, because Trump has done so many untoward things and illegal things, like documented illegal things, that it would be irrational to just give him the benefit of the doubt. Anybody who has a criminal record, to just give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to like running the country or running federal agencies, I think is irrational. So I would support my liberal friends in their raising awareness to the shit Trump's doing. Okay, that said, I want to read this. So this is called Trump's Plan to Control Elections is Coming into Focus. It's written by Jacob Knutson, Knutson. It was written on March 17th, so 3 months ago. 4 months ago. Okay, here we go. Since his inauguration, President Donald Trump has many times outlined his extreme vision for U.S. elections. In the first cabinet meeting of his second administration, he falsely asserted that U.S. elections are, quote, extremely dishonest, end quote, and called for restrictive voting reforms like eliminating early voting. During a meeting with governors, Trump called on state leaders to pass laws eliminating mail and electronic voting while falsely claiming they are sources of election fraud. Now Trump and his allies are acting on his words. In recent weeks, the administration has pulled back on efforts to fight racial discrimination in voting, weakened protections against foreign interference in our voting systems, and potentially laid the groundwork to increase Trump's personal control over independent agencies, among other steps. The administration has attempted to justify its acts through false claims of widespread voter fraud, which is exceptionally rare in U.S. elections. Taken together, experts say the moves threaten to undermine the single most important plank in our democratic system, free and fair elections. Tara Malloy, a senior director of the elections watchdog group Campaign Legal Center, told Democracy Docket that it's alarming that this attempt to influence elections is occurring within a broader plan to expand presidential power. Quote, there's a way in which it's not just an aggrandizement of presidential power, but a way to perpetuate presidential power, end quote, Malloy said. Quote, because of course you could be influencing the outcome of elections, not just their operations, end quote. Quote, there's a concern that it's not just a one-time problem, but an attempt to entrench, whether it's this president, his party, or his ideological supporters, in a way that is less easy to reform or change in the future, end quote, Malloy added. Using independent agencies to influence elections. So since January, Trump has launched a broad offensive to assert power over regulatory agencies that were created by Congress to operate without direct control from the White House. That assault has included an effort to assert control over the Federal Elections Commission, or the FEC, potentially making it easier for Trump to tilt elections in the GOP's favor. Charged with administering and enforcing the federal campaign finance laws and investigating campaign finance violations, the FEC is key to upholding the integrity of federal campaigns, reducing political corruption, and providing transparency about who is spending money on federal elections. Trump last month moved to fire Ellen Weintraub, a Democratic member of the commission, without cause, something no other president has ever done. Weintraub hasn't filed a lawsuit challenging her dismissal, but former FEC officials believe the attempt is likely illegal. Whether through a lawsuit over Weintraub's dismissal or challenges to other firings, courts, especially the Supreme Court, could ultimately give Trump the ability to fire FEC commissioners. Daniel Weiner, director at the Britain Center for Justice, told Democracy Docket that would significantly increase the possibility of the FEC being weaponized against Trump's political opponents, as his administration would have increased influence to weigh in on its regulatory and enforcement decisions. Quote, "What we've seen with this administration is that they really do seem to want to go after their enemies," end quote, Weiner said. Quote, "No other president in recent history has been so overt about weaponizing the government against its political opponents," end quote. And this is me talking now, maybe if we leave out Joe Biden, which that statement's incredible, but whatever. I mean, I guess there are people who perceive what happened under the Biden administration as Joe Biden not weaponizing the government against Trump, but I don't know, man. Democrats have weaponized the government against Trump in so many ways leading up to this election. I don't know how anybody on the left can say this with a straight face, but I don't know, man. Maybe there's some argument I haven't heard. Okay, now I'm going to read again. Additionally, Trump may sign an executive order that dissolves the leadership of the U.S. Postal Service and incorporates the service into the Department of Commerce, according to the Washington Post. Doing so would give Trump and his political appointees direct control over the agency that handles mail ballots. Experts told Democracy Docket that not only could this shake voter confidence in mail voting, but the administration could make voting by mail more difficult by changing postage requirements for mail ballots or influencing how states mail ballots to voters. Trump could also use newfound influence over other independent agencies unrelated to elections to target political opponents. The Federal Communications Commission, for example, reopened its inquiry into a previously dismissed complaint against CBS for coverage during the 2024 presidential election. The complaint, filed by a conservative law firm, claimed an interview on 60 Minutes with presidential candidate Kamala Harris amounted to, quote, "partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference," end quote. Just before Trump tapped him to chair the FCC, Brendan Carr linked the complaint with the FCC's review of license transfers involving CBS, essentially pitting the company's First Amendment rights against its business imperatives. Quote, "That is really, really, really unprecedented," Weiner said. Free speech and journalism organizations have criticized the move as an affront to free speech and press freedoms that could influence editorial judgments in future elections. All right, opening elections up to foreign interference. By cutting election security programs of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, the Trump administration may be exposing future elections to external threats, experts warn. The agency has been crucial to helping state and local election officials secure elections from foreign and domestic cyber attacks and handle disinformation and influence campaigns that seek to erode Americans' faith in democratic institutions. Such election interference operations have grown both in scope and sophistication over the past decade, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence. The Trump administration placed employees that worked on CISA's election programs on administrative leave and stripped federal funding for systems that alert thousands of state and local governments to cybersecurity and election threats. State and local election officials have told Democracy Docket they fear that dismantling these programs will leave future elections less secure. Additionally, the administration disbanded an FBI special unit tasked with confronting foreign threats to elections, creating what a former FBI counterintelligence head called, quote, "a free-for-all for foreign intel services seeking influence," end quote. Trump may be able to meddle with the nuts and bolts of election systems by controlling the Election Assistance Commission, the EAC. With a similar leadership structure as the FEC, the EAC helps state and local officials improve how elections are conducted. It distributes grants to improve election infrastructure, certifies voting equipment, and analyzes state-by-state data to determine best practices in election administration. The EAC has long been targeted by Republicans, and if Trump gains the ability to fire its board members at will, he could cripple the agency or influence how it certifies or decertifies voting system hardware and software. The Trump administration already attempted to influence the EAC's work by including $55 million in election security grants administered by the agency in its massive indefinite federal funding freeze earlier this year. The administration rescinded the freeze after it set off a wave of legal challenges. Institutionalizing the big lie. To bolster his efforts to control elections, Trump has stacked the Department of Justice with officials who have supported his baseless claims of rampant voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election and who may have worked to overturn state election results on behalf of his campaign. These include top officials like Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, both of whom would not say who won the 2020 election during their confirmation hearings. But it also includes these selected to lead offices that enforce federal laws protecting the right to vote. Trump nominated Harmeet Dillon, one of his loyal allies who has been involved in dozens of lawsuits changing voting rights laws, redistricting election processes, to lead the Civil Rights Division. Also referred to as the crown jewel of the DOJ, the Division is quoted protecting civil rights and liberties. Dillon has yet to confirm, but the Civil Rights Division has already abruptly shifted away from defending voting rights. So far, it's dropped voting rights lawsuits against Texas, Virginia, and Alabama. It also retracted a previous request to participate in a lawsuit over unfair maps in Louisiana that's set to be heard by the Supreme Court. Weiner, the British Senate director, said that the country, even in Trump's first term, never had a DOJ so readily turned into the president's personal law firm, quote unquote. Which is just not what the DOJ is. It's just not what anyone has understood the DOJ to be, Weiner said, but it's incredibly risky. In future elections, such officials may be more willing to not act if voting rights are threatened, or could oppose efforts to protecting voting rights. They may also be more likely to pursue criminal investigations and even prosecutions against voters and election administrators over spurious allegations of fraud. All right, so that was the democracy docket argument. Now, I brought it to the submission of the room because I wanted to be, first of all, I wanted to be fair, but also I wanted to underscore, there are a lot of reasonable, sincere questions about what the current administration is doing with respect to election integrity and the uber partisan ways in which it's doing things that in general might be more palatable if they were bipartisan. So revamping the FEC or the EAC, if it's done just from the perspective of Republicans and Democrats don't get any input, that's partisan. And if we're trying to come up with fair rules for everybody to be, to apply to everybody's elections, then probably Democrats who run major elections all over the country every year, every 2 years or 4 years, should have some say in that, right? It would be like you have two teams, the Lakers and the Celtics, and the Lakers are getting all the say in terms of what the rules of basketball are, but the Celtics don't get to have any input. It's you might do rules in such a way as to favor the Lakers. But is that really fair? Right? By simple analogy, I think it's the same kind of dynamic when it comes to Republicans and Democrats quibbling over what the election rules should be. And if the president has an outsized influence on what the election rules of the nation are as an expansion of the president's power, then what that means is that the rules are likely going to be tipped in favor of whatever party is in the White House at the time, which is going to, I think, maximize public lack of confidence in our elections. So that Trump is expanding it is short-sighted. It may benefit the Republicans in the short term, but the moment Democrats get in there and start taking advantage of all of the same things that powers that Trump expanded untowardly, then it probably is not going to go well for Republicans, and Republicans are going to cry foul and all that kind of shit. Food for thought. Throwing it to the room. What do you guys think about some of the worries that were epitomized by the article that I just read by Democracy Docket? Do you think that there's a rational, fair basis to question some of the things that the Trump administration is doing when it comes to election integrity?
I would say absolutely. It's relevant and related to the question that you asked Christian, and I guess no, not yes everybody, but Christian answered the question. Whether Trump wants to, rule until his days, probably yes, most likely. It looks like that from his actions. Would he be allowed to? That's another question. And I would say we do have a robust enough system that wouldn't allow him to do that. But the fears of him trying to do fuck shit with the system itself, I think they're just
what other people think.
My bad. Yeah, it does look crazy you said now that you read all that. Like, I feel like one of the things that like people always watch out for is like foreign influence and like discrimination. And it's like if you're kind of loosening the things that are supposed to prevent that, then like everything looks shady at that point. Like, what's your like true goal? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of.
Yeah, and I felt obligated to make sure that I included a steel man version of the kinds of worries that the leftists are having, because I think a lot of the worries are well founded, and a lot of the unwillingness to give the administration the benefit of the doubt are reasonable. The only real difference between me and some of the more, I think, extreme on the issue is that I'm not willing to jump in with 2 feet and just presume Trump's planning to do the most evil thing possible. I can't say that. I don't know that. But if he is, that shit's not cool, and it should be criticized well in advance, and people should be paying attention. I feel like that's a more sensible position. Like, people are like Joe Reed's saying things like, "We're never gonna have elections again." Like, I don't know how helpful that is to raising awareness to what Trump might do. And I don't know. It kind of it motivates people to go over the top and overreact in a way that helps, ironically, shield Trump and Republicans from any untoward things they may be planning, because they just go, "Look how crazy these people are being," and they have a point, because some of the people are legit being over the fucking top. But then it masks the people who maybe are not as loud, who are being more sensible, and they're not saying the crazy thing. They're saying a version of it that's more sensible, and they're being outshouted by the crazies.
So, Jason, in your opinion, does Supreme Court favor Trump in their decisions?
Sometimes, yeah. It seems like the Supreme Court has ruled in ways that help Trump accomplish his policy aims a lot lately. So I understand the perception that the Supreme Court supports Trump. I don't know that they're literally aiming to support Trump, because I read the opinions, and they do give logic and rationale that aren't like, "We're doing this because we want to help Trump." Obviously, they couldn't do that explicitly because that wouldn't be justified. I acknowledge that. I'm not naive about that. But what I'm saying is, like, when you assess objectively the validity or lack thereof of their rationale, limited through my limited understanding of how the law works, and that's important to point out. I'm not a legal expert, so my assessment could be wrong because I'm not a legal expert, and there may be some subtle things I'm missing. But when I bring it into rooms with people who do have that background, who disagree with Trump, I find that even they find it difficult at times to actually like argue against the rationale.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. So I think sometimes is the key word here, because what like Joy Reid and like people who are in her camp, they want to say that, you know, Supreme Court is in the pocket of Trump. Basically, it's going to do whatever Trump wants, you know, every whim, which is not the case. And just because they have ruled sometimes in his favor doesn't necessarily mean that they are unequivocally, you know, playing along with him, like second fiddle to whatever he wants. And to me, I mean, I might be wrong, but the article that you read from the Democracy, what is it, Bucket or
Democracy Docket? Yeah.
What was it called? Docket. It seemed to me that they, I mean, overall, they are making, you know, step by step, logically sound argument. But I think the very beginning, some of the fundamental premises that they are operating with, which is one of which is that Supreme Court is going to let Trump do whatever he wants, just based on a couple of examples of them ruling in his favor. I don't think that's the case. That's to say that, but I think, if I think that he desires to rule forever, probably, most likely. I mean, it looks like he's an egomaniac. That will be in line with his behavior so far. But whether he would be allowed or people will play along with it, I highly doubt.
Yeah. Okay. This is from the Supreme Court term 24-25, which would include rulings since January 20th, 2025. 42% of the cases have been unanimous. This data is reported as of June 28, 2025. So that's almost half. It's 8% shy, 8 percentage points shy of half have been unanimous. I do think that there's some hyperbole in terms of the court being a MAGA court or overly conservative or whatever. I do think that there are clear delineations between approaches of the justices, and the quote-unquote liberal justices have a certain kind of approach that the rest of the justices, the quote-unquote MAGA or right-leaning or conservative justices, have different approaches. And I do think that there is an alignment between the approaches that the judges have and the wider ideological thing. So there are links between conservatism and a lot of the originalist approaches and liberalism and a lot of the living constitution approaches of the quote-unquote liberal justices. So that's not wrong. I don't want to be like, I don't want to lie about that. But I do think that a lot of times it's overblown and people think that the Supreme Court justices are just as partisan as every other politician. And I don't know that there's evidence of that. I do think justices have biases. I think all justices have biases. But really the test of that is how well can they ground their rulings in the law. And so I don't see naked partisanship in our Supreme Court justices. I do see political biases evident in our in our Supreme Court justices, but that's inevitable. Like there's no such thing as a Supreme Court justice with no biases ever. So, I mean, I do think that the Supreme Court is not ideal in that the balance between the approaches is not realized, and maybe there are arguments for that balance being realized. And maybe there were better options for Supreme Court justices in terms of whatever their biases are ideologically. I do feel, for example, that Clarence Thomas is really biased towards the right. I think that's apparently true. And it shows in subtle ways in some of his decisions and not so subtle ways in others. As an example, I do think Ketanji Brown Jackson is also I think fairly obviously biased towards liberalism, but almost in an equivalent in opposite direction as Clarence Thomas. So I think that the biases exist. I think that they're kind of apparent. I don't know that every Supreme Court justice is biased to the same degree, though. Like I don't know that Kagan is as biased as Ketanji Brown Jackson. She might be, but I don't think so. I don't even know that Sotomayor is. She might be.
I think Thomas is the worst, to your point, for sure. And it's also judged by the actions of his wife, too, and the things she said and done. I think that he's definitely the worst. But there's one more of them. I don't remember which one. The flag issue. They put the flag up upside down or half mast or whatever it was.
Alito?
Yeah, it was Alito that did it. You're right. That issue.
Was his wife. It wasn't him.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess. But I've been married 32 years.
The man can't control his wife.
Maybe, but I think it's more likely that him and his wife agree on those major angles. And it just seems, I think he should be going out of his way to make sure that doesn't happen. And if she disagreed with him, I'm not sure she would be doing that. flagrantly like that in front of him. I'm sure he was more than okay with the concept. But anyway, so that stood out to me. But those two for sure.
Michael, I think you're. I mean, I don't remember. I don't want to presume, but I think you either are or were married. Happy wife, happy life. She can hang the freaking flag however she wants.
I've been married 23 years, but it goes like life. If I was,
the man doesn't learn.
if she was, no. I kind of think of it differently. I kind of think like if they have a successful marriage for any length of time, that she would be supportive of his career. She would know better than to make political gestures when her husband's a Supreme Court justice. Either she's just an idiot, or she's defiantly polar opposed politically to her husband, which is probably not likely. But it just seems like a really bad idea for her to do that, and it seems like it's something that he was okay with because he didn't think it through or something, or his true light just showed. I don't know. I don't know. It's too coincidental that he appears to be as right as he is, and then to be hired by Trump, and then to do that. It's pretty. He'd have to go out of his way to disprove that represents something.
Trump. He was appointed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the wrong word. You know my point. He was appointed by Trump, and when he's appointed by Trump, he was also vested by the people that Trump used to vest these extremely right-winged possibilities. Like Trump.
He was voted in by the Congress too, so it isn't like it was just Trump.
It's all political. That's all politically based, though, based on the swing of the court.
I'm not trying to disagree.
And none of that makes it less likely that he's biased. None of those points make.
Fair enough. I'm not trying to be clear, I'm not trying to disagree with you all that much. I'm just trying to be very specific about the process, because the process it involves input from both houses because the Congress is involved.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. It is definitely political. There's no
question. Yeah, and Trump went to it's the Heritage Foundation, I think it is, or whatever, that he went for a lot of those suggestions. I mean, he went very extreme in the groups that he used to suggest who he should be picking. I mean, he didn't pick these things out of his back pocket. So there's huge agendas behind why they were recommended.
I agree. I acknowledge that.
That said, we've always known there was political bias in the Supreme Court. I mean, no one ever questioned Senator O'Connor's, leaning, right? Like, it's always been the case. It's just troublesome that it's so outnumbered right now. I think it's in the best interest of the country to be closer to a balance, but that's just.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a strong argument, a compelling argument that can be made that the balance should not be 3-6 as ostensibly is.
Yeah.
Then a 5-4 balance would be probably more ideal.
I think that anytime we get further away from a balance anywhere in Congress, in the Supreme Court, any of it, I think it's in the disinterest of the country. I think literally what Americans should be hoping for is as close to the middle as possible, even if we end up getting quote unquote less done because it's not so overwhelming on either side. That's actually better. I'd rather, I think, drawing out than getting shoved through on a bipartisan basis.
Yeah. I also would prefer Supreme Court justices with moderate leanings, as opposed to really pronounced leanings on one side or the other. I think that's another avenue of balance that would be ideal.
Yeah. Well, that goes the same for president as far as I'm concerned, but they can't get through the primaries. So,
I feel like more moderate politicians in general would be ideal, but I was just talking about the core. Like that's an avenue of balance that I think gets overlooked a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. To go roundabout to Kirko. So Kirko kind of questioned, okay, well, it seems like you're fear-mongering. What real basis do you have in being worried about what the Trump administration is going to do with respect to elections? And then I tried to give an answer to that with this article that I read from Democracy Docket. I do think there are things the Trump administration has done and is trying to do that should raise eyebrows for people who are paying attention, as far as like tipping the scale in favor of the GOP when it comes to the context of elections in a way that's on tour. And allowing a president to do that now is going to set precedents that are going to backfire in a major way in the future, no matter who's president. Because then you're going to have presidents who are incentivized as a new normal to tip the scale in favor of their party every year, every 4 years, or whatever they get in office. And I don't think our system can tolerate. Well, it's a question of to what extent our system can tolerate that kind of shit. It's not supposed to be topsy-turvy like that. So I'm not a fan of Trump's moves to expand presidential power, which is ideologically motivated and was explicitly a policy aim in Project 2025, believe it or not. So it seems like Trump's trying to deliver on those things.
And the unprofessional nature of the language and the extreme nature of the language that he uses when he makes posts about certain things, like he did on the one on 4th of July about the other side, makes him unusual as a president in his obvious, blatant, hatred of the other side. It's just the way what he says is not. It doesn't sound like the way that other professional presidents have talked about their opposing parties in the past. There is a difference. If somebody can't recognize the words that he uses and the language that he uses and the divisiveness that he creates and the way that he uses that, then they're not going to be willing to recognize how different and unusual he is. And that unusual difference is the reason that we should be more worried about him taking on more presidential control than potentially somebody else 25 years ago.
I do find Trump's rhetoric problematic. I think that some people exaggerate how problematic it is, which is annoying. But I do think it is problematic. It's not trivial that we have a foul-mouthed president who denigrates one side of the aisle so much that it's like, how probable is compromise working together under this president? I'm not sure.
And his attack on the existing structures of government, from the FBI to everything else. It's all of it. It's the anti-establishment tone of his foray into government politics. His outsider view that the entire system is corrupt and that America is in trouble because of where it stands. And when he's creating a lot of the atmosphere that makes it feel that way, in a way that other presidents have never done. Everything from January 11th to everything that he says, including the post on 4th. The post on the 4th was a perfect example. I don't remember the details of it specifically. I read it. His Twitter post.
January 6th?
No, it's July 4th Twitter post where he...
Yeah, you said January 11th, but I think you meant...
Oh, January 6th, yeah, I meant 6th, yeah. Everything from that, I mean, it started there in my mind, for sure, in something that was inappropriate and promoting and not stopping. If not promoting, at least not stopping at a timely basis, but... It just keeps going on and on. I mean, for somebody to say, I wonder why would we worry about him than anybody else? For somebody to say that, I think they're totally clueless. I don't care how they vote. It just makes no sense. I mean, it seems blatantly obvious.
I hear you.
And his attack on his own party, on the other Republicans, his naming of rhinos, the way that he attacked Republicans of the old guard in the same nature that he attacked Democrats. It was basically him versus everybody, including his own party, until he had control over it. And so that was super interesting. He redefined a party. He turned a party and a Congress that was ultimately against him, but afraid of him, into a party that at least outwardly supports him now, through bullying procedures and through demonizing the people that were there before him, including especially the ones that are more moderate. And that too is not something that I've seen in my lifetime with a Republican coming into their own party. And I thought of him as like anti-war, and at least in the way that he talked about the wars, because I heard a lot of young people liking him because it seemed like that he was very not interested in engaging in wars. But then when it comes down to it, at least in this term, he's very much acting like any other Republican would act, as far as I'm concerned, in the way that he's handling wars and Iran and everything else. He's doing what he needs to do from a war perspective. And he's giving the military all the resources that they need, and he's driving up taxes. Like, he's doing everything Republicans, bad Republicans have always done, and he's getting rid of some of the things that Republicans champion that I would argue were the good parts of the party. And again, of course, we should worry about him, especially if we've been Republicans most of our lives and we don't necessarily approve of what he did to the party.
Andre, you good? I saw you leave and come back.
Oh, yeah. I was just, as always, when I get on the phone, when I come back and everything is silent.
Oh, no, it legit was silent, though.
Oh.
I felt like you might have thought the silence meant your phone was glitching.
That's exactly what I
Jason, do you think that Musk's new party would be more helpful to the Democrats or the Republicans?
I don't know. It seems like it's flopping like all the other third-party attempts, so it may, in the end, not really affect either party. It seems like a more effective thing that would negatively impact the Republicans would be Musk throwing his money behind primarying Republicans that voted for the big, beautiful bill. It would be interesting to see if he also tries to primary rad leftists that he doesn't like with his money, but I don't know. His party is an interesting thing. I actually was going to do a room about it, but I haven't done enough research yet. But I like the idea of third parties. It's just that they don't typically have success. It seems like the two main parties have such a strong hold on our politics and really our political infrastructure that it's hard for third parties to break in.
But if anybody could have any kind of traction, even if it doesn't go anywhere initially, but just to put the conversation back into the minds of people in general, it would probably be the richest guy in the world, I would think.
I mean,
although money didn't help Bloomberg, you know what I mean? So it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's doomed to fail. I'm saying so far it doesn't look like it's gaining traction.
Yeah, and I don't even know what his principles are. I mean, frankly, he was willing to roll over and kiss Trump's ass just because he wanted, certain rules for EVs. Seems like to me what he's going for. And then when he didn't get that, he just flipped automatically. So I'm not sure that he's principled anyway.
From what I understand, the next 3 or maybe like 3 out of next 4 parties have contacted him already to see if they can create some sort of alliance.
Yeah, I mean, anything that gets people who are more moderate to prominence in a national scale, I'm kind of for. I don't really like uber partisan politicians. But I mean, I don't know. Will it make legislation easier or harder if we had like 7 major parties with approximately even representation in our Congress?
It'd be terrible.
I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. So I mean, I have reservations. I do want more of a balance, but I don't want to exacerbate already existing trends of gridlock in Washington when it comes to Congress.
Then people will call you a Democratic, liberal, moderate American.
All the labels.
All labels. I do kind of like the idea of like trying to push like both sides to kind of get their heads under their asses. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's the best thing that'll come out of like a third party. If the given base loses enough of their constituents, then like it'll kind of make them wake up like, okay, we got to switch something up and start tweaking out here in the streets, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, part of me wonders if MAGA, as we define it, is really an actual majority in the Republican Party, or if it's not, behind the scenes, and if J.D. Vance may not be able to hold down if it's a minority in the Republican Party, which I think it is still. J.D. Vance hold it down like Trump did. I'm not convinced that will happen automatically.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what J.D. Vance's chances are of winning the next election at all.
He doesn't
Or
know
anybody beyond
everything.
Trump, I guess.
He doesn't even know the future.
I mean, there are things that the Republicans can do. I mean, if Trump endorses him, then you can mobilize Trump's sycophant base behind a J.D. Vance. They've already voted for him on the ticket with Trump, so voting for him at the top of the ticket, I don't think is that far-fetched, particularly if Trump's endorsing him. But it's not clear that he's gonna win yet. But and it's also not clear who he would be running against. I mean, if they ran him against AOC, he might actually win. If they ran him against, I don't know, maybe a Gavin Newsom, one of the other people who was a part of their deep bench, Wes Moore, Pritzker, maybe they have chances. But I don't know how the American people see these people, these figures actually. And I don't know to what extent the stain on the Democrat Party would actually negatively impact them, or even like a Shapiro or something, or maybe even a Gretchen Whitmer. It seems like the Democrat Party has decided that women are the problem, and so they're not going to run a woman next time, which is hilarious.
Wait, is that already on the books?
Well, no, it just seems that way because they've talked that way. And actually the progressives have pointed out that they sense what I sense, which is that the Democrats are, they haven't said it, but their whole thing is like, well, the last 2 times we lost there were women, so I feel like the conclusion's inevitable, like, you know, but maybe they will run a woman. I don't know. AOC is supposed to be the shit. Gretchen Whitmer was talked about at one point, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's who I thought they might be rallying behind, somebody like the Michigan governor.
Yeah, I don't know. If they ran Kamala Harris again, I just feel like
that would be hilarious, man.
Dude, that would be such a avoidable mistake. Like what the fuck are y'all doing? But it just seems like they're not gonna do that. It seems like they kind of are aware she's not popular, and credit to them.
What gave it away?
I don't think they should run her. I think that they know that though. I don't. I don't think they're that stupid. I just think that they're in denial a lot of times.
No,
they're
you
not
see,
stupid people.
To me, her candidacy was a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
They basically sacrificed her. I mean, at least the the makers and shakers, like the people who are shills for them. I mean, they would have rallied behind whoever it was. It doesn't matter. You presented like a chair, they would tell you about how wonderful the policies of a chair are.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really pick her the first time around.
Exactly. I mean, she was shit the first time. I mean, she didn't survive the.
I mean, even the last time they didn't pick her, they kind of defaulted to her because they felt under pressure to make a decision quickly.
Yeah.
Just kind of pushed her into place, It made sense. I mean, she's the VP. It made sense. Under pressure.
I don't know that AOC is going to be favored because it seems like they're trying to get away from the progressives.
What do you think? What do you think of Elizabeth Warren? Not that she wants to run, but
You mean the Pocahontas?
As far as like the likelihood that they're going to go with her, I don't know. They're kind of in a weird place right now. I don't know what their priorities are.
Yeah, I don't either.
She might run though. I don't know. Did she run in 2024? I mean, sorry.
I think she ran the very beginning part of the primaries. I think she was part of the big group.
She ran the primaries, yeah. She might run again. I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, they need a fresh face in some capacity. There's nobody that I can think of that's going to do much good.
If Hillary Clinton ran again, that would be hilarious.
I wouldn't put it against them. It's possible.
It'd just be weird. It'd be like, oh my God, they're running it back.
Yeah, but it's fucking weird that Trump ran again. Like, it would fit. It would fit the story.
Not in the same
she would probably. I think she would win against J.D. Vance.
It was weird that Trump ran and won. That was weird to me.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking weird. It's more a statement of how pathetic the Democrats were and how badly they were damaged by the Joe Biden thing. That's really what it's an example of.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think you would have lost it.
I was just like, wow, bro.
But in terms of support, even within the ranks of the Republican Party, I think Trump has much more ground than Hillary amongst Democrats. I mean, her own party fucking hates her. So I highly doubt that she would do that.
Well, I think that Andre, I still believe that, I don't know, maybe it's changed, maybe I'm just naive. As of 2020, I could have said that I believe that a majority of the Republicans were closeted, did not support Trump, but never were afraid to say otherwise. I know that was the case in 16. I know it. So in 20, was it still? Not sure. In 24, did it exist anymore? I don't know. I think it's split up by age, to be honest with you. Anybody that's been Republican like me for several decades, we're not necessarily huge Trump fans. Like, I still think there's a lot of neocon Republicans.
Yeah, that's a good point, but I think the difference is that, within the Republican Party, the people who do support Trump, they're like die-hard Trump supporters.
Right, exactly.
They go all the way through and through. On the Democratic side, with Hillary, there's no Hillary club. Nobody's going to fucking, throw their career out of the window for Hillary.
But that's the charisma. That comes out of charisma, bro, which is one reason I was talking about Vance.
White dudes for Hillary, bro. What are you talking about?
Vance lacks charisma in the same way Hillary lacks charisma. Like, charisma's a big deal.
Vance doesn't lack charisma.
Yeah, he does. Oh my God, he does. Dude, they talk about him fucking his couch. Like, that's a perfect example how he's like
charisma, though.
Yeah, he does. Oh, I completely think so. I think the guy has no charisma.
He actually has charisma.
I'm not saying he's dumb. I think he's smart, but I don't think he has charisma at all.
He clearly does have charisma. What are you doing right now?
I don't know. I would be interested to see what other people think. I disagree with you quite a bit, actually. I really do.
Go ahead.
No, I think so, Mike. If you compare him to Trump has very animalistic charisma, right? So he can read the crowd. He can sort of he can guide the crowd with his bullshit and his word salad and whatnot.
Right.
J.D. Vance is much more. Yeah. So.
And so could Obama.
Not to that extent. Come on, dude. Like it was not a word salad. When Obama opened his mouth, with Clinton would make you feel like you're the most important thing in the whole universe. It wasn't a word salad. The word salad. He just hypnotizes you. Like Trump. I saw him live last year before he became a president, and it's hypnotic. He just says nonsense. You look away from him and kind of like try to analyze what the fuck he's saying. It's nonsense. Like the previous sentence has nothing to do with the next one, but it works. People go wild. He says, what they want to hear, and they just go crazy. With Vance, he's much more in line with traditional, rhetorician. Like he's well spoken. He behaves himself, like a gentleman. So I think he does have a charisma. It's just a different kind.
Like, to say that a person doesn't have charisma because you don't like them is weird.
Like, no, I mean, I don't. I'm not necessarily saying because of that. I mean, I don't know. When anybody, I look at him almost like a nerd, kind of like people making fun of him about humping his couch. Like that's not something that's not something that happens to somebody who is just who's as charismatic as Bill Clinton or whatever. Like it's almost like silly. Like the things that people laugh about him are silly things. Like it doesn't. He seems like a nerd. He seems nerdy to me, but not in a good way necessarily. I don't know. I don't see it.
Nerds can have charisma too.
Yes, they can, but I don't think he has it. I just don't. I don't know.
I mean, listen to him speak, bro. I think it's pretty evident he has charisma.
I think he's smart and well spoken. Yeah.
Well,
I don't think it's the same thing, but I don't know.
If you have charisma, what do you think that means?
It means a lot. It means it's an innate thing that some people seem to have or not have. It's a combination of physical attractiveness, a perception of intelligence, although Trump has it and he's not necessarily perceived as intelligent by anybody who actually understands what that would require. I don't know. I mean, I think Trump has it. I just don't think that, I don't know. In the same way, that's what I'm saying. I think MAGA is a one-off thing. It's Trump. He made the party about himself, and it's going to be a challenge when he's no longer there to pass that on to somebody else that's not him. That's the problem with turning a party around and making it all about yourself. Can you pass it down?
I agree that they do face that challenge. I think that's separable from whether or not J.D. Vance has charisma.
Well, and I don't think he's the guy for that, I guess is my point necessarily. So I don't know who would be.
Yeah, I actually do think that he has an uphill battle with that because he isn't Trump. And so there's a risk that he's not going to motivate as many people to the polls that the GOP is going to need to win. I think that's fair. But it isn't because he lacks charisma. It's because he's not Trump. And there's a difference between those two things. He has his own kind of charisma. I think his appeal is a little bit more narrow in terms of the GOP base. Trump appeals to way more people than J.D. Vance does. That doesn't mean J.D. Vance doesn't have charisma.
Trump is a character. J.D. doesn't have depth. He's not a character. He's not a caricature. He's just an intellectual. God, I think I'm really surprised that you use that word to describe him.
You think he's bland, Mike?
I think he's bland, and I think that's an important part of winning.
You just emphasize the things you don't like about him, but
well, it's not that I don't like him actually.
I'm trying to describe how he appeals to people who like him. Right? He's got a smile. He's got a nice smile. He's got a strong voice. He's well spoken. He's educated. And he speaks to the issues that a lot of Republicans want him to speak to. He also gets a little bit of bonus points by being associatable with Trump because he's a part of his administration and he's his number 2. Okay? All of those things appeal to MAGA in a major way. Okay? He's also from Appalachia, which appeals to that voting bloc. And he's also aggressive in his attacks on the left, Democrats in particular. So like all of these things are things that appeal, and the sense of his being charismatic is having a nice smile, his being well spoken, and his being personable, even in the context of some really like hot interviews from leftist media pundits, right? So like, I can tell he's charismatic because of those things, even though I don't personally like him. I can tell why he appeals to other people.
Like all that he will have to do if he like runs for presidency is own libs publicly a couple of times, like on their ground, and that's it. That's all he'll need to appeal to all the Republicans in the world, you know.
To me, he even has more charisma than the Florida governor. That
Which one?
DeSantis?
Yeah, he has more charisma than DeSantis.
Oh,
that dude's nerdy to me.
I don't think so. I don't see that, but
You think DeSantis has more charisma than
I do. Within Florida, I think he has a lot. For Floridians, Floridians aren't like other Americans.
Florida.
I love how you
gonna out Jason. I'm saying in general. You think that Florida governor has more charisma in general than
J.D. Vance? Yeah, yes. I do. I definitely think that DeSantis has more than J.D. Vance.
Have you watched J.D. Vance speak for extended periods of time?
Yeah, I have. And part of what I say about J.D. Vance, he's a great speaker. To be honest, I had his job in the Marine Corps. I mean, he was taught that. We were taught that. We were taught to be television news anchors and broadcasters and public relations specialists. That was our jobs. So, like, there's a lot of media training that he's had by default that other people his age have not had. So, he's advanced in that nature. Like, that's part of what makes him so professional. That's why he sounds so professional. It's a big reason. And he's smart. And he has a good story. And I think all that matters, but it doesn't mean that you'd want to have a beer with the guy. I mean, I think Trump would be fun to have a beer with. I don't think that J.D. Vance would be fun to have a beer with, but that's just me.
I mean, but Ron DeSantis would, I guess.
If I had to pick one of the two, I'd pick him over J.D. Vance, but that's just me. I think, hey, Ron DeSantis, good point. I mean, he's not the guy I would pick.
I don't think that most people in MAGA think that, to be fair. So
I don't think people in MAGA really give a shit about J.D. Vance. I think they're so obsessed with Trump. They just don't.
Who I don't think are charismatic are like Lindsey Graham, fucking Mitch McConnell. I don't think those motherfuckers are charismatic.
Right, but they haven't run for president. They would lose if they did because of that. But president is a lot about.
I can't stand
liking the person.
I can't stand. Senator of Texas, what's his name? Ted Cruz?
Well,
but I can acknowledge that Ted Cruz has some charisma, though. I can't stand that guy.
No,
I can't stand Gavin Newsom. But
I can't stand him either. I think he's gross.
Even people I don't like, I can tell have charisma, and I can acknowledge it. Like, I can't stand Gavin Newsom. That dude's charismatic.
Yeah, he's charismatic.
So, I mean, I don't know, like...
I don't think Ted Cruz is charismatic. At all.
A little bit. I don't think he's the most. I think J.D. Vance is too hard, and I think Gavin Newsom is more charismatic than him.
But he has just gross. He just grosses me out anyway.
He has one of those like preacher type charisma. Like he gets really preachy in his speeches.
He just grosses me out. He just looks like he stinks. He looks like he's greasy and he stinks. I can't get over him.
He's also Canadian. I can't stand Canadians.
His roommate. I used to know a guy that knew him. He was his roommate, and I don't remember the guy's name now. I mean, I wasn't friends with him, but I spent enough time talking about him. And they had nicknames for him that made fun of how greasy and gross he was. He was highly unpopular in college, and he was gross. He smelled, and his roommates actually didn't like him at all. And so imagine somebody in college that has that reputation, and then they go deep into politics, and they have success in politics, but on a personal level, people don't like being around them when there's not something that they're gaining favor as a result of being there. So a roommate doesn't have favor by being there. Of course, anybody in his political sphere might act like they like him because they can gain favor from him. But if you're just around him as a human being, apparently he was pretty damn unpopular and pretty gross. They even had I can't remember what the nickname was. It was really disgusting about him, but I'm being greasy and gross. So I don't know. That's what every time I think of him, I think of that guy talking about him. But again, I don't think you need charisma to be a politician. I think it helps, but I think you need charisma to be president. I think sometimes that's what it all comes down to. I don't think that Kamala had it particularly. She tried, but I don't think she had it either much. I think that was part of her problem. Even people that didn't like her didn't love her.
I don't think she was very charismatic either. But
right. I don't know how to describe what it is. It seems innate to me. I don't know. I don't know.
And typically, they're like just likable, personable qualities, and
attractive. Attractiveness matters, for sure.
That's part of.
Look at somebody like John Edwards, right?
Remember him? Likable is to be attractive. My point is, yes, you're right.
But like Bill Clinton, like I met Bill Clinton in the Marines, and what I remember about him is he had like an aura. It was something. It was like when you were in his presence, he looked at you in your eye, and he closed down to make you the focus of his attention for that time, and he was with you. Like there's something there. Like you could feel it physically. You could see it in the way that he looked at you. And so on an attractive level, he was like off the charts. But it was as kind of a human entity. I don't know how to describe it beyond that. And I feel like other presidents seem to have that too. And I don't know. Yeah, anyway, I just don't see that in J.D. Vance, but I haven't really engaged with him, so I wouldn't know. I don't know how to describe it. I just know that Bill Clinton was like uniquely, supernaturally weird.
I'm trying to test your ability to recognize charisma in people you don't like. It just seems like
I don't like Bill Clinton at all. I hated Bill Clinton. I don't like him at all. Shit, his name was 23 times in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book.
You just talked about him right now like you was in love with him, so I don't know, bro.
I was in love with him when I was standing in front of him. It doesn't mean I like him. I told you it's a supernatural force that he has. Like some people have that. You haven't? I know. I used to have a business partner that was a complete piece of shit, the awful person, no morals whatsoever. When we would go out, he wasn't even physically attractive. But when we would go out somewhere and we're in public or we're at a club or something, girls would flock to him. Ridiculous. If I put a picture on my PTR right now, you'll go, what? Dude, it was off the charts. My wife, everybody noticed it. They're like, what's the deal? I'm like, I don't fucking know. It's like supernatural. It's something. That's what I attribute to charisma. Like he didn't have to be attractive. He didn't even have to be a good person in his case. It didn't matter. Like that's a thing. I don't know how to describe that beyond that, but that's how people get away with the shit they get away with when they're bad people. I bet you Jeffrey Epstein had charisma. Like that level. Like he's a horrible, disgusting person. Like serial killers have it sometimes. That's how they get away with what they get away with. Like I don't know, but psychopaths have it. I mean, they can fake it. Psychopaths can fake it sometimes. Sociopaths can fake it on purpose. They're really good at that, actually, because they don't have to take into account empathy and concern of other people's thoughts, and it's really easy for them to mimic like that. Like that's why CEOs have it. That's why I worked for Bob Nardelli at Home Depot Corporate. A whole bunch of CEOs, they all had charisma at that level. And they're probably sociopaths. I think, like they say, like what 60-70% of CEOs or Fortune 500 CEOs are sociopaths. It's a thing. I don't know how to describe it. I actually don't feel like that's J.D. Vance. I don't think he's a sociopath either. I think Trump is, but I don't think Vance is. I don't know. I mean, have you read books about sociopaths before? Have you read much about it?